I believe we're live.
Yes, we are.
Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You live stream, where we discuss epigraphs with ThatDarnKitteh.
Ha!
This was not planned. I just went into it.
That's it. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
that was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole of the Mistborn book.
Can't believe it. Yeah. Just that's it. Cool, that's done. We wrapped it up. Goodbye. No.
It was a tremendously enjoyable book, I think.
A great journey.
And the purpose. Go on.
Well, we simply had to continue. Of course. We didn't skip. We didn't take a break. We're on to the next one, but that does not mean that spoilers are welcome. Please don't. Let's continue our great streak.
Yes. So we have at this point recorded chapters 1 through 6 into Well of Ascension, and we have read chapter 7, but we have not discussed it with each other, as is our way.
Yes.
And the purpose of this stream is in part to reflect on the series that we have made, but also to go over the epigraphs and things we might have missed not having read the book prior to recording and experiencing the epigraphs. To that end, hello, Gray. Yes, we started on time.
Of course we did. It's a Dorkus stream.
Yes. To that end, we have made a diagram.
Of course we have. Wait, I'll show it to you. I'll put the map just to show you how big it is, guys. That's all the epigraphs and bits from the logbook. The big chunks over here are from the logbook. When they put the logbook in. That is all Dorcas's work. I just put it into the diagram.
Yes, I transcribed and then, she organized.
Compiled. Yes.
Compiled.
Mm-hmm. So
shall we get into the prologue epigraph, yes?
Prologue epigraph, yes.
Sometimes I worry that I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. The philosophers assure me that this is the time, that the signs have been met, but I still wonder if they have the wrong man. So many people depend on me. They say I will hold the future of the entire world in my arms. What would they think if they knew that their champion, the hero of ages, their savior, doubted himself? Perhaps they wouldn't be shocked at all. In a way, this is what worries me most. Maybe in their hearts they wonder, just as I do. When they see me, do they see a liar?
Mm-hmm. So do you remember our takes from this? I mean, there wasn't much, obviously much to go on because we were just from the first, this was the prologue, so we didn't know much about everything. But we spoke about prophecies. I think that was one of the major things we spoke about.
I agree. I've been hesitant to go back and listen to some of our earlier work. Not going to lie, so I don't remember too much, but I vaguely remember talking about what my expectations going into the story was, the premises that I had heard regarding the book, and this being the hero that failed.
Yeah.
So here we get a character who is riddled with self-doubt, I think.
Yeah.
It does establish that there are philosophers telling him he's the guy that will be the hero of ages.
Will hold the entire future. of
Yeah.
the entire world. Yeah. And yeah, it's a great like when they see me, do they see a liar? Like just remember that when we first started this, we like as we go for quite a while, we think the Lord Ruler wrote this.
Yes.
So it's quite funny that actually when they see the Lord Ruler, they're seeing a liar, but it's not actually seeing him. But you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to just bring around the theme of liar. Hey.
A little bit of an imposter syndrome. And in the prologue chapter, we get Lord Tresting's POV. We get the smiling Ska. And we get Menace doing or being forced to take on this role as the leader of this group and heading off to the Argui Caverns, or what we later learn are the Argui Caverns.
But this is not so this is the epilogue, the prologue. I mean, you think you're seeing that, so that's how it relates to the imposter syndrome thing. That's what you're saying. You're relating it to the happenings in the prologue.
I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm winging it here.
Okay.
But I suppose you could. There will be a lot of comparisons to Kelsier and these prophecies, and it's, I think, very much a question that we ask ourselves throughout this series. Is Kelsier the hero of ages, or is Vin the hero of ages? So there may well be some sort of connection here between our first learning of the phrase or the term or the title hero of ages and Kelsier. It's setting up that question, perhaps.
New their champion, the hero of ages, their savior. I mean, yeah. So I'm putting these things up here as floating topics. Self-doubt, prophecy. Well, let's go. The whole point is to connect them all together, have them right, very close together. So we don't have to take them only by themselves. See how they read one after the other. So that's the one we had. Now the next one, I consider myself to be a man of principle.
Okay. So this is in part 1, the survivor of Hathsin. I consider myself to be a man of principle, but what man does not? Even the cutthroat, I have noticed, believes his actions to be moral after a fashion. Perhaps another person, reading of my life, would name me a religious tyrant. He could call me arrogant. What is to make that man's opinion any less valid than my own? I guess it all comes down to one fact. In the end, I'm the one with the armies.
Yeah, Hi, Serge. I remember I was like, is this a different guy? I think it was this guy. And I saw arrogance in I'm the one with the armies. That was like, whoa, okay. That's what a hint of what then made me think early on there were two different guys. And then also this is also just a showing of little bits of this epigraph guy. Yeah, epigraph guy. Him at making sense who he actually ends up being. Like we thought that he does turn into the Lord Ruler for quite a while. Okay, so like one of the theories was that he's corrupted by the deepness. So he's got goodness and he's also got arrogance in him. And so we accepted that it was one person, but that there are bad parts of him, and those bad parts then became corrupted, possibly. But now, obviously, having gotten to the end of the book, we can say that it was Rashek. Yeah. So that's been disposed of, but you can still see the little breadcrumbs that Brandison was throwing for us as well. Also, part here we've got armies, so we know that there's some sort of it's giving us that there is some sort of conflict that happens. because of this journey?
There is a ruthlessness to this man. Are we okay to say his name now that we know his name?
It's up to you.
All right. This guy's name is Alendi.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless Brandon Sanderson's doing another sneaky with the second book thus far, again, we've made it through chapter 6 into chapter 7. We have not discussed chapter 7. So,
I'm actually just going to say notes.
There is definitely a ruthlessness, and Sanderson is using that ruthlessness to guide us, the readers, into hopefully suspecting, I would imagine, that this is a person who could believably be the Lord Ruler.
Yes. So, the leading us could become the big bad Lord Ruler. Okay.
Right.
And
the phrase religious tyrant, because in that first prologue, there's a lot of talk about religious bureaucracy, the obligators, the Lord Ruler, as a religious figure, as God. So that's also a little area of feeding into that. This guy is the Lord Ruler. But in hindsight, I suppose that word religious there would be more in reference to the Terris philosophers and perhaps this mythos around who the hero of ages is.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It's just, it misguides us, which is fine. But now we see, in hindsight, we see that the religious thing is just about it's some sort of religious belief thing that is surrounding having a prophecy, the hero of ages, and all of that. So that's what it's connecting to, not to him being a religious figure later on.
Right. And then this chapter is our first Vin POV chapter. We get some important characteristics about her, as liking solitude, and Kammen's a dick.
Yeah.
And he's pretending to be something that he is not. And he's got this plan to rip off the canton of whomever. The Lord Ruler, the nobleman.
So does that in any way, who's the man, who is to make that man's opinion any less valid than my own? I guess it all comes to down in the end, I'm the one with the armies. Maybe we can relate that to Vin being in a situation where the only thing that matters is who's got the power over her. So it still kind of goes in with us seeing her first POV. Yeah.
Well, even the cutthroat, I have noticed, believes his actions to be moral after a fashion. And we're dealing with cutthroats and thieves and less than moral people. Granted, they're in tough situations and that they are Ska in a world in which the Ska are oppressed, but that doesn't mean that Kammen isn't an asshole.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about that?
No, let's keep going.
All right. This brings us to chapter 2. If men read these words, let them know that power is a heavy burden. Seek not to be bound by its chains. The Terris prophecies say that I will have the power to save the world. They hint, however, that I will have the power to destroy it as well.
I think what we took from there, if I remember correctly, it was the usual, prophecies usually are like that, that having the power to save the world is a huge responsibility, it's a huge weight, and you can become a tyrant after you save the world, which is what the theory we're working on at this time when in the book, where we're like, oh, this must be some sort of religious text of the Lord Ruler.
Right. And that there's danger here. This person could save the world. He could destroy it as well. So like it leaves open that option. Again, it's Sanderson trying to lead us down this road of this is the Lord Ruler.
Yeah, more oopsie. Fanfare. More hinting at this being the Lord Ruler. Okay. What happens in that chapter? If you can just have an idea, anything we can relate to there. Dorkus, you're muted. Okay. He muted. And still muted.
Hello,
And still
sorry, I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay. Had a slight emergency, nothing terrible, but
Are you sure?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, okay, so this is starts with a Kelsier POV. And we meet Dachshund for the first time. And let's see.
We know he's got a plan. But I remember the biggest thing that I got from that was like, oh, he's like, he thinks to himself, I will be undercover now, but one day, the day will come where he has to be well known.
Right.
And so we know for sure this has been a long time coming.
And Kelsier here wants to, in a way, destroy the world. Like the Lord Ruler's final empire that has lasted for 1,000 years is their world. He wants to defeat God. So, and I think we understand this to be more or less a good thing because Lord Ruler is oppressing characters that we like. So, in a way, Kelsier could be saving the world and destroying it at the same time, which isn't not how prophecies work. Prophecies are weird.
I'm doing that at the same time. Yeah. I like it. I like that idea. And then, I mean, look, it continues with us. The parallels with Kelsier and Alendi are abundant. We see a lot of him there, and then being under the belief that the epigraph guy is the Lord Ruler, we go, oh, now look, you can see Kelsier could turn out like him, because look what happened to the Lord Ruler. He was mostly good, and now then he turned really bad. So we have that fancy for a long time in the book.
Yes, and we do know that there are dark Kelsier chapters.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Kelsier and Dachshund chat for a while. Then we get Vin and Kamen. We learn about Reen, and Kamen is going to betray Theron. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go to the Canton office, and Kamen basically makes a fool of himself and reveals Vin to the Obligators and the Inquisitors. And Kelsier and Dachshund are,
they go. Kelsier goes and burns something, and we get some more Allomancy.
BMO says all of Kelsier's chapters are dark.
I guess because he's got darkness in him all the way through, but there's a distinct one that we're like his darkest hour, because we were like, what the hell? That's why.
But this brings us to chapter 3.
Mm-hmm.
We arrived in Terris earlier this week, and I have to say I find the countryside beautiful. The great mountains to the north, with their bald snow caps and forested mantles, stand like watchful gods over this land of green fertility. My own lands to the south are mostly flat. I think they might look less dreary if there were a few mountains to vary the terrain. The people here are mostly herdsmen, though timber harvesters and farmers are not uncommon. It is a pastoral land, certainly. It seems odd that a place so remarkably agrarian could have produced the prophecies and theologies upon which the entire world now relies.
So I know that what I really took from this was, I was like, sheesh, he's really, because I was convinced this is the Lord Ruler, so I was like looking for the badness. And he's like, my own lands to the south are mostly flat. I think that they might look less dreary. So it's like I took from the arrogance of the previous one. I was looking for more badness, and I was like, oh, so he's judging this natural beauty, but he's just commenting on the difference. That's literally how it is. But I was sensitive to anything that could make him look like the big bad.
Right.
And also one of the main things to think of now is like green fertility. There is no more green fertility. The deepness has done something to that green fertility.
And there's the color issue. And then in a very early, subtle way, Sanderson is giving us a clue with regard to what Vin sees when she enters into that room at the end.
Yeah.
This is, I think, the earliest manifestation of look at who the 11th metal shadow is. Look at the shoes in the room. Look at the furs. This is just starting that.
Clues about what Terris and Terrismen are like. Yeah.
And then in chapter 3, we have Cameron counting his money and Vin being neurotic. Correct. Is it neurotic
Yes.
if it's correct? Is it paranoia if they're really out to get you?
Yeah.
And then I believe, Kelsier comes in his traditional flashy fashion.
That was cool.
Yep. Very cool. And he has them turn Cameron into a beggar. And Vin's like, who are you? What do you want with me? How are you going to use me?
Very, very Vin-like. Yes.
Yeah.
Very dark Vin.
So I'm not sure I have any unique insight into how this epigraph clues into this chapter specifically.
Other than it's just here some more. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's fine. Shall we move on to 4 then?
Yeah.
Apparently, the next stage of my quest will take us up into the Highlands of Terris. This is said to be a cold, unforgiving place, a land where the very mountains are made of ice. Our normal attendants will not do for such a trip. We should probably hire some Terris packmen to carry our gear.
Okay, so that really just continues with this is more information about Terris and Terrismen.
Yes. They are packmen. Which is important for the reveal later. The ice.
They are packmen. The ice, obviously the ice continues throughout, like it becomes bitterly cold the closer they get. So he is also there was like a journey.
And we already know that Epigraph man, that Alendi is a man of means and ways. He can afford to hire Terris packmen.
There is a journey to what we expect or suspect is the Well of Ascension or whatever.
Terris packmen are the best.
Where the deepness is. I'm saying no, that they're going to where the deepness is.
Yes.
Okay.
Although we haven't heard the term Well of Ascension yet by this point in the book, right? Have we?
I don't think so. I don't know. But we're doing this in hindsight, so I'm okay to add this to the diagram.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. My quest will take us up into the Highlands of Terris. There is to be a cold, unforgiving place. And if we look at our map, let's see. Remember, we were like, where is Terris? We're like looking for mountains. And it says Terris dominance. That's basically all that we could think of as where Terris is. It's called Terris dominance. So it's at the top of the map.
Yes. Far to the north. And then in this chapter, we get some speculation about whatever it is that it could be that Kelsier is planning. And
it's just a heist, bro. It's just a heist. That's all.
Just a heist. And we meet Ham. We meet Breeze.
Yeah.
The shirtless soldier, sleeveless soldier, and the Cheshire Catman. And we meet Clubs and Yedden. Yeah.
Oh, and we got introduced into emotional elemency. So we're getting more there. That's more to do with the story. This is about the epigraphs. We're on about the epigraphs. So,
yeah.
Cool.
So then, chapter 5. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. The Terris philosophers claim that I'll know my duty when the time comes, but that's a small comfort. The deepness must be destroyed. And apparently I'm the only one who can do so. It ravages the world even now. If I don't stop it soon, there will be nothing left of this land but bones and dust. I'll know my duty when the time comes. We just got out of the epilogue chapter where he says these peaceful whispers are telling me that everything's gonna be all right.
So is that him knowing? Are you saying that's him knowing, or it's him?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
In a way, I mean, like not knowing, but knowing. He ends in a moment of serenity, calmness.
Yeah, I think it's not that he knows it's his duty. It's like he knows that it doesn't actually matter whether he feels it's his duty or not. He has to do it. He has to try. So that's the feeling he is. He's committed to it.
Let me see if I can find the line. If there are prophecies, if there is a hero of ages, then my mind whispers that there must be something directing my path. Something is watching, something cares. These peaceful whispers tell me a truth I wish very much to believe. I think that's directly connected to this. In fact, can you do one of those lines to connect it? Please?
Yeah, I'll go here. All the way.
All the way.
Oh, good. What would you like me to write about relationship? Or does the line speak for itself?
I don't know. Maybe just these peaceful whispers and I'll know my duty.
Peaceful whispers equal no, I'll know my duty.
Which gets us into fate and prophecy, and everything has to happen as it was going to happen and as it does happen so that it will happen. What is free will?
It's an illusion, but you still act as if you have it. I don't know.
I mean, we're still going through it. Even if it's preordained, we still have to experience it, right? That's the journey.
Yeah, and you still have to make choices based on whatever information you have.
Right. And in this chapter, there's always another secret. Kelsier finds the good bottle of wine.
Oh, yeah. There's always another secret.
Yeah. Vin is still pondering how they could have just let Clubs go, but Clubs comes back. And Kelsier...
Yeah.
Go on.
Paranoid Vin was exhausting. Like, look, we get a lot of it, but all of her worries, like, it just, I don't know. If I look back at my notes here, it's just a lot. I actually wrote there getting to me, like her getting really annoyed. You know, like her saying, this one's gonna betray you. This is gonna do that. This is gonna do. So I've wrote there getting to me. I remember that.
And then Kelsier plans to do the venture heist. And then he does the venture heist.
And that's it. We don't know anything about Elend or anything like that at that point.
Correct. We don't know anything about House Venture other than that they are the big dogs, and that Tresting, I think, had been organizing a deal with Strath Venture. And that brings us to chapter 6, correct? I never wanted this, true, but somebody has to stop the deepness. And apparently Terris is the only place that this can be done. On this fact, however, I don't have to take the word of the philosophers. I can feel our goal now, can sense it, though the others cannot. It pulses in my mind, far off in the mountains. It pulses in my mind. We don't know yet at this point in the book that what it feels like to sense other allomancers.
Oh yeah, we don't at that point.
But it seems clear to me that there's a connection here. He feels the deepness pulsing in his mind, and we know that Vin later on will feel some strange pulsing far off in the distance, and then aggravatingly forgets about it, never mentions it. But that seems pertinent to this.
She we theorize that, you know, like, well, there's something else that she's sensing. But what she is saying, what she does eventually conclude, is that she pierces copper clouds. So I don't know if that, I don't know if it's, those are two completely different things. I think she sense the deepness is something she will be able to sense, I think, as well, that at some point. That's what I'm thinking.
Almost certainly. I imagine it's her unique strength that allows her to, I suppose, to be more attuned to it. I wonder if everyone else could feel it if they tried hard enough, but I'm uncertain about that. I don't recall off the top of my head as we get further into the epigraphs whether or not they mention that the rest of Elendi's group can sense it as well. But there's also that added layer of, there's no mention of allomancy in the epigraphs, in any of these epigraphs. So the fact that he can sense it is unique in a way here through that lens.
But we do know that Feruchemy exists, but he doesn't refer to using it either. So he obviously he's special because he can sense it, right? But then obviously he lands up not doing his quest and not actually becoming the Lord Ruler. Elend's name is very close to the writer of the epigraph. Ah, very true.
So help me if Elend is the hero of ages.
Uh-oh. I mean,
there's no way.
He's a good man. He's a good man.
Sure. Anyway, in this chapter, in chapter 6, Vin goes with Kelsier. They go to Clubs' shop. She's very uncomfortable. She learns what perfume is.
Yeah. Oh, I think what we took from this in terms of the epigraph is it was just, okay, something is coming. Their challenge, the one that the crew is going to go through, is coming and pulsing and close on the horizon. Okay, now chapter 7. Is there anything else you want to do with chapter 6?
Chapter 6, they work out their plan. They all talk. We learn the personalities, etc. So
which 7, works with the whole. It's far off in the mountains, so like they're planning towards that. So that kind of makes sense. That it links in that way. But chapter 7, we have our first mention of Rashek.
Yes, Rashek is a tall man. Of course, most of these Terris men are tall. He is young to receive so much respect from the other packmen. He has charisma, and the women of court would probably describe him as handsome in a rugged sort of way. Yet it amazes me that anyone would give heed to a man who speaks such hatred. He has never seen Clenium, yet he curses the city. He does not know me, yet I can already see the anger and hostility in his eyes.
Yeah, so we now knowing what we know, like there, you know exactly where the Lord Ruler comes from. Like the hatred.
We have not met. We have not met Sazed yet, and we haven't gotten Sazed's description. So there's just this note that most Terrismen are tall, which, when you combine it with Sazed's description, and I think he's described as being unnaturally tall, I think it feeds into that misdirection or attempted misdirection.
Because what I expect,
Go on.
Yeah, what I expected when we see that what Vin would have had to have noticed is that he is tall. When she sees the shadow, I would expect her to notice that he's like freakishly tall, or the Lord Ruler is freakishly tall, or something like that. But it's just like he's a tall man. I think that's all she said. It wasn't like they put that together with Terrismen. But also, you remember that Terris people have been bred in a certain way, so they might not look exactly how they did 1,000 years ago. In any case.
Yes.
Cool. The Lord Ruler, the hatred and cruelty of the Lord Ruler, origins of the I'm just putting here origins.
And it sets up the adversarial nature between Alendi and Rashek. And it's sort of this weird situation where we're getting all of this from Alendi's POV. And at this point, I don't think we have much of a reason not to think he's the Lord Ruler. So one would think that Rashek in this relationship might be the good one. But because we're getting it from Alendi's perspective, with that presumption of Lord Rulership, Rashek comes off as, well, a racist and
well, this is
an adversary.
This is where I started to think that Rashek might have somehow gotten involved at the Well of Ascension, and they got mixed. This is where I had that theory of them like getting mixed together somehow in some sort of they fight the deepness and somehow they become one, you know, like anything's possible in a magical world. So that's what I was thinking, that somehow Rashek like tries to stop Alendi and then they become one, and that was his involvement. So the stuff that because I did make a connection between Rashek's hatred and the Lord Ruler's hatred. I did do that, but I don't think I thought that that could be something that caused it, that Rashek is what brought out the Alendi's badness.
Yeah, I mean, when you have an adversary, it's easier to justify your less than savory actions, right? Even
exactly.
the cutthroat, after a fashion, feels he's justified, which we just covered an epigraph or two ago. Yeah. And then in this chapter, we get Marsh. We learn a bit about Marsh, the very serious person. We get Vin in that very emotional scene where she's looking in on the crew laughing and having a good time, and she doesn't go in, I think.
Yep.
And she and Kelsier head out
to Mistborn.
Yep, the first lesson. And right, it ends with her jumping up into the air. Which brings us to chapter 8, yes?
Yep.
He shall defend their ways, yet shall violate them. He will be their savior, yet they shall call him heretic. His name shall be discord, yet they shall love him for it. And this epigraph is in quotes.
Yes.
And it seems clear that this is a portion of the Terris prophecies, yeah?
Yes, and after what Bimo said, they're reminded that Ellen's name is very close to the right in the epigraph. Just thinking of Ellen. Ellen does defend the Scarways, but he does violate them. They don't see him as a savior, though. I don't think that they see him as a savior, but yet they should call him heretic. So yeah, at this point in the book, obviously I was making comparison to Kelsier.
Same.
And I still lean towards that. It makes sense, but just thinking about the L&D and L&D and
there is the very male pronoun here. He shall defend their ways. He will be their savior. His name. Yeah.
But then later on, he's not just a man, but he's a force. So later on, we do have him as a force.
Right.
But we still call him a he. Yeah.
Which makes it, I think, near impossible not to compare to Kelsier. Because he seems to be all of these things, even by the end of the book. Yeah, because Kelsier does defend their ways, but he violates them. I mean, Vin actually says you're just noblemen. The way that you act, you're not Scar. Okay, so he defends their ways, but he violates them. So he's not a Scar himself. He will be their savior. He's literally the survivor of Hatson. So they really worship him in that way. They should
they call him heretic. He is a heretic because he does eventually. It's because he destroys the Lord Ruler's religion. His name shall be Discord. Okay, there was no actual dubbing of this person as Discord, but he did cause a shitload of discord by destroying the final empire. Yet they shall love him for it. So you know what? It does fit. But that's what's fun about prophecy. It fits all different kinds of things.
Yes.
I mean, the philosophers that Elendi is talking about here, they thought that he fit this.
Yep, and there's even more of a journal segment where he basically talks. It's like if you could fit it like through a certain lens, I guess. My defense of Summer Hill, I guess, could be this. So
yeah,
that's the trouble with prophecies.
The trouble with prophecies.
And BMO says he creates Discord, the social media platform. Also true. And there's a link to the No One Asked You Discord in my channel description. You should join because there's fun stuff going on in there. And then in this chapter, go on.
Yeah. No, I'm just doing this thing where I create a boundary instead of this. So here, the boundary will be the survivor of Hudson.
Neat.
Okay, and move that out. And there we go. And then the next part is Rebels Beneath a Sky of Ash. But I'll make the barrier once we're done.
Cool. And in this chapter, what goes up must come down. Vin falls to the ground and they continue their lesson. We meet a mist wraith.
Yes. Which is a pre-Khandra.
An adorable, translucent best boy.
Yes. just shambling around like a slug or something. Yeah. But that's so that was chapter 8 that you said that.
Yes, this is chapter 8. We meet Lord Renault. Noteworthy, we meet Lord Renault, the same chapter we meet a mist wraith. And we get a little bit of Sazed personality, which is important. And then we just get some nice, heartfelt Kelsier Vin stuff going on. Very sweet chapter. Good. And that brings us to
chapter 9.
Part 2, Rebels Beneath a Sky of Ash. Chapter 9.
So we had the survivor of, like, I'm just looking at the way he created these parts. So we had the survivor of Hathson. I guess that's, it's just him being the survivor and coming into town. And then Rebels is like, this is the start of their rebellion, I suppose. Rebels Beneath
your
the Sky
phone.
of Ash. Oh. Where the hell is my phone? So far away. What the hell? Oh, man. Okay, I moved it.
Cool.
Any better?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, so now we're in the part where they're rebelling.
Yes.
Okay, it makes sense.
In the end, what?
I said, okay, it makes sense.
Yes. In the end, I worry that my arrogance shall destroy us all.
Right, so we just had more reminders of the possible Lord Ruler man being corrupted, him seeing weaknesses in himself, and we started comparing to Kelsier a lot because Kelsier's arrogance definitely is quite scary because it's like Kelsier has to have this arrogance that makes them rebel in the first place, and it is everybody is asking themselves that Kelsier is insane. What do we mean?
Meanwhile, at the same time, if you have Vin's foresight all of this worry, all of this concern about making the right choice when the time comes, a part of you does wonder, how is this kind of person the person to make the wrong choice?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because this is somebody who actually is worrying about stuff. This is somebody who's thinking, who's reflecting. So reflection from who is supposed to become board ruler. Because it's evidence. It makes, well, I'd say it makes sense that L.N.D. is not killer. A guy like this, a guy like him, wouldn't become this bad. Apparently.
Yeah.
Wouldn't make this a bad decision.
And I think there's a part of the readers that sense this, because it only serves to drive the question, what happened at the Well of Ascension?
Yeah, that's what we as readers at that time, we are like, the whole time what the epigraphs did to us was go, what happened? You know, we were really frustrated every single time, and it has not changed in the new book. So thanks for that. The epigraph is for us to ask questions. That's where it makes us ask all the questions and have none of the answers until we have a stream like this.
Right. And in this chapter, we have a little bit of a time jump. Vin has been training and is currently training.
Do they bend the coin in this one?
Yes, I believe this is where we get that religious artifact that is the bent coin. And we determine, I think in this one, no, we determined in a previous chapter that Vin would be my fair ladying it up with the nobleman, but this is where she's been preparing for it, and she's a bit nervous.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we get some nice Kelsier Sazed stuff. Yes?
I suppose any chapter with Kelsier in it will have arrogance in it, so you could probably just relate that. Yeah.
Indeed. And this brings us to chapter 10, yes? It amazes me how many nations have united behind our purpose. There are still dissenters, of course, and some kingdoms, regrettably, have fallen to wars that I could not stop. Still, this general unity is glorious, even humbling to contemplate. I wish that the nations of mankind hadn't required such a dire threat to make them see the value of peace and cooperation. Now, this was, I think, a part of I think this was the first epigraph that made us wonder, does this section of whatever it is that we're reading take place after the Well of Ascension?
Yeah. Because we were wondering, because it does make sense both sides of it. Because okay, they're gearing up to go and fight the deepness, and that's what brought the nations all together. Okay, because it's the end of the world. That's a thing that happens in stories where it's like everybody unites against the aliens and things like that kind of thing. And that's before the war, right? But then we are wondering, because we still don't know, that this could be after the nations did come together under one empire after the deepness. Yeah.
Exactly.
So at that point, we didn't know. But now we do know that it is that again, this relates back to when he said he also said, I'm the one with the armies. And he said, where is it? My quest. So it's like it establishes that there's some journey. There is a journey to what we suspect is the Well of Ascension. So that relates to this one. That's what I would say. Over
Excellent.
here. Because it's the same sort of thing of the like a journey. So his quest. I'll actually put in the relationship quest. Yeah.
It definitely builds this image in hindsight of this character who's being told, you know, he has a divine destiny, so to speak, and people falling or pledging themselves to that divinity, to that divine spark. And of course, there will be people that oppose it. And yeah, there's fighting over this.
There is fighting over this. Yeah, exactly. And I'm the one with the armies. I'm also putting in there as well. He's the one with the armies. Again, this, and he also does mention war here as well.
Imagine if Frodo had an army.
Yeah. Well, would he get in? I don't know. That was the whole point, so that he doesn't have to go in with an army.
Right.
Conflicts leading up to the... Okay, so there's conflict there. We got that, and we did have the unfortunate... This did make us go, oh, well, that's kind of what... Because it did unite under one ruler, this could be the seeds of the Lord Ruler wanting one empire. We do wonder.
Right. And then in this chapter, we get our first Vin Breeze mentorship scene. And we get, I think, the first viewing into Kelsier's playing up the religious aspect of his goal. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He gets a bit dramatic and performative. I'm the survivor of huts and scars and blah, blah. I am the thing that he cannot kill.
Right. And I think this early in, we haven't really seen Dark Kelsier, so it's taken by us as, well, that was a bit ostentatious, but I don't see anything too deep there.
I do remember you worrying about it. I do have a thing of you remember, like, if he's too into it. I do remember that. So you were worried at this point.
It's the... I stand corrected then. But the seeds there are being planted. And he is a character who is very larger than life.
Yeah.
And then we get a little...
Yeah.
Go on.
Are you just looking at the rest of it? Yeah. I'm just looking at the next one. Because I'm just trying to see... are we still trying to connect the epigraphs to what happens in the chapter?
I suppose we don't have to, but I imagine it would be nice to at least mention what happens in the chapter.
So what else is there?
They convene Sazed, Yedden, Breeze, and they make plans. Yedden. And there ends up being news that I think Kammen's lair has been hit. Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Great. And then that brings us to chapter 11. It seems Rashek represents a growing faction in Terris culture. A large number of the youths think that their unusual powers should be used for more than fieldwork, husbandry, and stone carving. They are rowdy, even violent, far different from the quiet, discerning Terris philosophers and holy men that I have known. They will have to be watched carefully, these Terrismen. They could be very dangerous if given the opportunity and the motivation.
Well, that rings hilarious now that we know the truth.
Yep. What's crazy, though, is I want to know what degree of support Rashek had when he did what he did, because what he does to the Terris people is quite terrible.
Yeah.
So square that circle for me in book 2, please.
Still,
they could be dangerous.
Yeah.
They could be dangerous if given the opportunity and the motivation. We know that Rashek is uniquely motivated.
Yeah.
And we get our first glimpse into ferochemy, sort of. Brief mention.
Yeah. Okay. That was first mentioned in the logbook, I suppose. First mention.
Yeah.
But no allomancy.
And then we get into... is there anything specific to say about that
No.
epigraph worth noting? Then we get the chapter. They go and check out Kammon's lair. It has been utterly decimated. And Kelsier runs off to find Kammon, and they find him hanging by a hook like a shark.
Yeah.
And Vin scares Kelsier because she followed.
Yeah. And she just looks up and sees him, and it's like, well, cool. There's some more to the trauma book. That's great.
Rowdy, even violent. The scene at Kammon's lair is very violent, clearly.
Yeah.
So, small connection there.
Mm.
And that brings us to chapter 12.
Yes.
What would it be like if every nation, from the Isles in the south to the Terris Hills in the north, were united under a single government? What wonders could be achieved? What progress could be made if mankind were to permanently set aside its squabblings and join together? It is too much, I suppose, to even hope for. A single unified empire of man? It could never happen.
So you see. Yeah.
Yeah, that ambition.
Yeah, that these two are very connected. These two over here.
Yep.
He does this. They have the same. They hit the same, both of them.
Yeah, and it's Sanderson really walking that line between wanting us to think it's the Lord Ruler, and it's great.
Yeah, and maybe it is that they got mixed together in the deepness, okay, and Alendi is in there. We don't know, because we don't really have that confirmed. Yeah. We've got Rashek. He could just have reacted to the name Rashek. Right.
And it's not, he's never named as a king, I think, or as the leader of a nation. Is he? He might be. I might be having a dumb moment. But epigraph man in these epigraphs.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's not horribly uncommon for leaders to imagine what it would be like to control the world.
Yeah.
At least in fantasy.
And he's thinking about how good it would be. He's not like, oh, what if I was the leader and I could have it all my way? He's like, wow, imagine if we could all just stay united. How
wouldn't cool utopia be nice?
Yeah.
Then again, if you're embroiled in countless wars, it doesn't necessarily seem like such an ambitious thing, just a flight of fancy. It could never happen, but wouldn't it be nice if we were one nation so that there wouldn't be any war? The cutthroat feels he is justified after a fashion.
You can't use your favorite line to keep with us.
Apparently.
But further seeds of the final. And listen, we know that Rashek, or the Lord Ruler, is he kept this journal. He kept a lady's journal. And
why?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
And it makes sense that we would have. So even if he did take the idea of this, okay, look, obviously any natural, like you said, any leader would think of expanding in one final empire, basically. But this could be part of what he held on to from Alendi, is the unified empire of man.
And then in this chapter, we get our first venture ball, right? We start with a nice little confidence-boosting discussion between Kelsier and Vin, and then we get to the ball, and she's very nervous,
and
but then she falls. We had some criticisms regarding their willingness to speak freely about names and stuff. But that's fine.
It ends up being fine.
Yeah. And then we meet Elend. Not Alendi, Elend.
Yes.
And they leave. Which brings us to chapter 13. I know that I shouldn't let a simple Pac-Man perturb me. However, he is from Terris, where the prophecies originated. If anyone could spot a fraud, would it not be he? Nevertheless, I continue my trek, going where the scribbled auguries proclaim that I will meet my destiny. Walking, feeling Rashek's eyes on my back, jealous, mocking, hating. So we get more of this Rashek.
Yep. Yeah, more Rashek worry.
Eyes on my back. Don't get stabbed in the back, Alendi, please. You're needed.
Well,
probably.
Yeah, it seems like it.
We need you to die so that Vin and Kelsier can save the world.
Yeah. Rashek as a danger is emphasized. So we do as readers the whole time go, okay, something does happen with this guy.
Right. It because it's like, why is he mentioning Rashek so much? Why is he so present in your mind? And clearly that sets up, we know that there's going to be something that happens between the two. And we don't know the details, but reading through the epigraphs, like, you expect something, some sort of confrontation to happen between the two. Otherwise, why would we be focusing on him in these epigraphs? And he considers himself a fraud.
Also considers himself a fraud. Further self-doubt. Okay. What happens in that chapter? This is the...
Elend and Renault freak out about and Sazed freak out about the Elend of it.
Yeah.
And then they, I believe they go to Credit Shaw, yeah?
Oh my goodness. Really? It happens that quickly?
Maybe not. We learn what Atium does.
Oh.
Yes, they learn about Atium.
Mm-hmm.
And then that brings us to chapter 14. Sometimes I wonder if I'm going mad. Perhaps it is due to the pressure of knowing that I must somehow bear the burden of an entire world. Perhaps it is caused by the death I have seen, the friends I have lost, the friends I have been forced to kill. Either way, I sometimes see shadows following me, dark creatures that I don't understand nor wish to understand. Are they perhaps some figment of my overtaxed mind?
Oh.
No. So, friends I was forced to kill. As I was transcribing these, I wrote a little note to myself. Does Alendi kill Fedic?
But he says, well, he writes it as if Fedic was killed by something else. He does write it that way.
Well, he was stabbed by something, but that didn't
Yes.
kill him, and then he changed after the stabbing.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay, yeah.
And then I think we had theorized that it was a Khandra. And then we'll get into it in Ascension Unleashed. Stick around as to what we have, or at least I have changed my opinion on that matter regarding word salad. Hello.
Either way, it seems, yeah. So we've got the shadow following thing. That definitely Ascension Unleashed. We're thinking about what the hell is going on with the deepness.
Yep.
The creatures in the deepness are not just Khandra and mist wraiths.
And it's again playing into this guy could be the Lord Ruler, is probably the Lord Ruler. An overtaxed mind could prevent a person from making the correct and rational choice.
Yeah, becoming TLR because he has been pushed too far. Okay.
There's also the possibility that he kills Quan, but we don't really know that yet. I don't think we know that until the next one. And I suspect that next one was placed there because of this one here. But I think it's unlikely that he killed Quan.
Yeah,
so...
he knows that the people wanted him, that people thought that yeah, you should kill him. I remember that, but he doesn't seem to agree with them.
Yeah. Anyway, he's getting more drained, it seems, the closer he gets to his goal. And then in this chapter, we learn a little bit about the initial heist that sent Kelsier to the pits of Hathsin. And they go into Kredek Shah. And obviously what happens, and it ends in a very dangerous situation. A very life-threatening situation.
It was great. It was a great chapter.
Yes.
It was
Dark
so
creatures. It was so exciting. We had to read on, I think, if we, if I recall correctly. But yeah, dark shadows, dark creatures that I don't understand nor wish to understand. We get a very visceral look at what the Inquisitors can do this chapter.
Yeah, that's true. That works.
And then that brings us to chapter 15, yes? I don't know why Quan betrayed me. Even still, this event haunts my thoughts. He was the one who discovered me. He was the Terris philosopher who first called me the hero of ages. It seems ironically surreal that now, after his long struggle to convince his colleagues, he is the only major Terris holy man to preach against my reign.
And also, so here he says, I don't know why Quan betrayed me. At least that means he doesn't think it has anything to do with Rashek. I think that's important. That he doesn't say, oh, Quan has sided with Rashek. He doesn't say that. He just says,
Correct.
I don't know why Quan betrayed me. So it's Quan of it. I think it's like Quan of his own volition is against it because he's made some discovery about it.
Right.
So it's not. I think he would have said it was Rashek if that was why Quan betrayed him.
Right. And up until now, we've been getting all of this self-doubt mixed with a bit of ruthlessness, and then these strange shadows and an overtaxed mind. So that feeds into I think our corruption theories that we were going with, that he was being corrupted. And it might not be unreasonable to think Quan was observing these things in a similar way. Possibly. We don't know yet.
I'm going to put you Dorkus theory.
I mean, it's not really my theory. I'm just...
It's an theory.
Of the time. Right.
Of the time there.
Yeah, up until this point.
Readers... this point might be tempted to think
corruption.
Yeah.
Observed corruption.
Observing the corruption of Epigraph man. Guy. With by deepness into PLR. Okay, and then
in this chapter, Vin is brought back, saved by Sazed, and Kelsier is like, "Oh my God, what have I done?"
Yeah, we have a book. The book makes it back. I think we know that the book came in. I don't know, but when do we find that the book is a thing?
Well, they found the book here. Like Sazed picked up the book while he was rescuing Vin.
Yeah. I'm just making the next part, which is part 3, Children of a Bleeding Sun. Okay, so that is so we had the rebellion that they're starting to bleed, to rebel, and then the next part he calls Children of a Bleeding Sun. So what, like we're starting to
the sun is red.
The sun is red, yeah, and
first blood has been drawn.
There you go. No, for real.
Yeah. Vin nearly died, nearly lost her life.
And she is the daughter that Kelsier and Mare never had.
Correct. And so we get to chapter 16. Many think my journey started in Clenium, that great city of wonder. They forgot that I was no king when my quest began. Far from it. Oh, okay, so he does become a king. Forget what I said earlier. I didn't remember.
Well, I forget I was no king, so... But he doesn't say he is a king yet, so it's not exactly...
True. All the same. I think well, anyway, I think it would do men well to remember that this task was not begun by emperors, priests, prophets, or generals. It didn't start in Clenium or Cordell, nor did it come from the great nations to the east or the fiery empire of the west. It began with a youth, the son of a blacksmith, who was unremarkable in every way, except perhaps in his ability to get into trouble. It began with me. That seems like such a way to start The Hobbit or something. I was a nobody. I was just this humble guy. And that feeds into the narcissism of this Lord Ruler guy.
Yeah, it started with me. Me.
Yeah.
Feeds into the narcissism. Okay, but yeah, and also that he started from the bottom, now is there. So like that whole thing, like that's part of what could corrupt you is coming from being resentful of where you came from. So you become a bit corrupted because finally you get yours.
Vin starts from nothing. She gets the family she's always wanted, and now she's never gonna let that go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, then being corrupted by having it all. Question mark. Okay.
But yeah, this is very much I am the young hero epigraph. Your archetypal hero. And then Vin awakes and begins her long recovery. Her very long recovery. Well done on that one, Sanderson, really. Kelsier's there when she awakes, and she realizes that she is not invincible. Kelsier, on the other hand, though, anyway, she's starting to ignore Reen's voice. She doesn't get along with Renault. Sazed stuff. She'll never get along with Renault. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I have hope.
Yeah.
Let's see. We get some Sazed Vin stuff. Sazed. Okay, so this one, there are some comparisons to be made between Sazed and Quan. So I'm just that's in my mind. They seem to be filling very similar roles. There's a mirroring of those roles, and I think I get more into that in Ascension Unleashed as those start to air, but I think it is worth mentioning here.
Yeah. Sorry, I've just gone back to, this is the first mention. The previous chapter there was the first mention of him actually not being him being a smith or whatever. So that
yes.
That is what later on, when we do see the shadow, whatever, that does make us wonder. Okay, what he didn't.
We don't see a smith. We see possibly a traitor or a Pac-Man. So yes, that is actually. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that makes this epigraph, this specific epigraph, extremely important, because that is a subtle clue that the person we see in that room is not who we think it is. I'm so glad you do this with me, Kitteh.
I'm so glad somebody is nerdy enough to do it with me as well. Go and make a freaking diagram.
If nothing else, I'm having a wonderful time. So, yay. Okay, and then that brings us to 17, yes?
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd remained there in that lazy village of my birth. I'd have become a smith, like my father. Perhaps I'd have a family, sons of my own. Perhaps someone else would have come to carry this terrible burden. Someone who could bear it far better than I. Someone who deserved to be a hero.
All right, so we get the more self-doubt thing.
Yeah, and there's more of that 11th metal. Who could I have been? Topic there.
Who could I have been?
Yep.
And yeah, we do have the repeated mention of it being a burden.
Yeah.
We've got the repeated thing of repeated idea.
Yeah. And there's still doubt. Yeah, it's a burden. And there's doubt, someone who could bear it far better than I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Self-doubt. Someone who deserves. Okay.
And then what happens in this chapter? Sazed is translating the journal. She doesn't get along with Renault, but they're kind of having to pretend to. Kelsier comes back, and they talk about Marsh finding the answer. So I think this is when they more or less say, hey, we're going to send Marsh in to be a spy.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about the journal. Vin is looking at a dress, preparing for the next ball. And she's really being pulled in two different directions, that of the street thief and that of the noblewoman.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a nice Vin Kelsier scene. Nice bonding. And then that brings us to chapter 18. You could say that circumstances forced me to leave my home behind. Certainly if I had stayed, I would now be dead. During those days, running without knowing why, carrying a burden I didn't understand, I assumed that I would lose myself in Clenium and seek a life of indistinction. I'm slowly coming to understand that anonymity, like so many other things, has already been lost to me forever. And that is so Vin.
Yes, I was just about to say. Because considering like we're like where we're at, kind of just not going all the way into Ascension Unleashed, but then in this chapter as well, she had, well, in this chapter, in the book, in this part, she doesn't get to be anonymous.
She's dealing with being the girl who stopped the Lord Ruler, the heir to the survivor.
Yeah.
And it becomes a big question at various points in this book, whether or not Kelsier's the hero of ages or whether or not it's Vin.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing this, it's like, oh, it's so totally Vin.
And we did at this point, I think we did talk about the anonymity relating back to Kelsier earlier on in the book, when he was like, there would be a day where he would not be anonymous anymore. He would use that. So we've got both of them, Kelsier and Vin, in mind at this point. Mostly Kelsier.
Yeah.
But also we know that this journal isn't exactly like prophecy for Vin. It's just it's
parallels.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah.
And we've got Sazed as Quan, we've got Vin as Alendi. Who's gonna betray Vin? Someone's gonna betray Vin. I'm so worried for her.
And we're going so slowly. But you know what? Yeah, it's so exciting actually, just how much the anticipation going through this is just helping us feel even more anticipation for the new book. Yeah.
And then,
so what do I put in my notes? Yeah.
Vin parallel.
Also, yes, Vin parallel. But also another thing I actually was going to say. At this point, I remember what we were talking about is I would now be dead. We're now thinking of the Lord Ruler being immortal. He's not saying that. Like, now we know he's not talking about being immortal. It's just that at his home, he was forced to run. He was forced to leave. And if he had stayed, he would have been killed.
Right.
That's now, what he means by that. Not that he would have died of old age by now, which is what we think.
Right. Well, I would have imagined something like the deepness. It's destroying everything. People are dying off. Global warming. All of that stuff. Or his city. his defense of Summer Hill. There are wars going on. Very Game of Thrones, where the deepness is the White Walkers, the looming threat, but everyone else is too busy fighting each other to really pay attention. Sort of a thing going on in my mind.
Well, it also points to it also points to the conflict. So it doesn't have to be the deepness itself. It's the conflicts that he mentioned before. Those all could have been the things that killed him.
Yeah.
Pre-deepness conflicts or deepness itself would have killed him.
And then in this chapter, she decides to wear the red dress. And Elend comes up. The red dress. Elend comes up and basically sits with her the entire time. But she gets out and she dances. And we learn about Lady Shan. And we learn about secret books that Elend keeps.
Yes. Heretic Elend.
I hope Elend is not the hero of ages. And then they take off, and she sees the death of a poor Ska boy. Wait. Yip, 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 yip. And then that brings us to chapter 19, yes?
Yes. And that brings me, while you read that, I'm going to let Axel in. So you will have the first comment. So go on.
Quan and I met by happenstance, though I suppose he would use the word providence. I have met many other Terris philosophers since that day. They are every one men of great wisdom and ponderous sagaciousness, men with an almost palpable importance. Not so Quan. In a way, he is as unlikely a prophet as I am a hero. He never had an air of ceremonious wisdom, nor was he a religious scholar. When we first met, he was studying one of his ridiculous interests in the Great Clenny Library. I believe he was trying to determine whether or not trees could think. That he should be the one who finally discovered the great hero of Terris prophecy is a matter that would cause me to laugh, had events turned out a little differently. So, not so Quan. Again, it's that comparison between Quan and Sazed for me.
Yeah.
Although it does say, nor was he a religious scholar, and Sazed very much is. But I never got man of ponderous sagaciousness out of Sazed. Yeah. Sazed has that spirit, that joy, that ingenuity, that rebelliousness that is so different from what we understand the rest of them to be. Now that you're back, it's your turn to make a few comments while I go away for 30 seconds.
Cool. I'm trying to remember to figure out where this one sits, because I think we need to look. We'll look in the notebook, in the logbook, where this comes in, because he says Quan and I. He's talking about Quan without thinking of Quan having betrayed him at this point. So this could be earlier on, before Quan has betrayed him. But it's much of a muchness, because he could be talking about Quan, whether in this way, whether he betrayed him or not, because Quan did name him as the Terris prophecy guy, the great hero of Terris prophecy. So it's not that this has to come after. This has to come before Quan has betrayed him. It's not that, but I would like to know if it is. The way that he's talking about him.
Yeah, I mean, it could be after, and he's reflecting, because he doesn't know why, and I would want to know why. Why did my father betray me?
Yeah.
But he doesn't sound like vindictive, at least in this part of it. He's not thinking, I need revenge, I need to get back at him. He's not obsessed with this idea of finding Quan, whereas I think we do get much more ire and vengeance from Rashek in the epigraphs, which could be then another clue into the Lord Ruler's secret.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this chapter, we get, what do we get? Oh, yes, we get Hoyd. We get Straff Venture. We get some sneaky Game of Thrones shenanigans. Shan Alariel is a soother. Then Kelsier heads back to Mansion Renault. We get the word Condra. A lot happens in this chapter. We get a little bit of conversation about Elend. And she's crushing hard. Vin is crushing hard.
We knew it.
And then that brings us to chapter 20, yes? Unless there's anything else you want to say about this big boy?
One thing that I will comment on is we were I remember we were trying to figure out if Feruchemy was involved with trees.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I will note that we even tried to connect Feruchemy to trees.
Yeah, look, if there's metal magic, why couldn't there be wood magic?
Mm-hmm.
Earth, wind, fire, water.
There's a fiery empire metal. Or something. Yeah.
And that brings us to 20.
Okay.
It isn't a shadow. This dark thing that follows me, the thing that only I can see, it isn't really a shadow. It's blackish and translucent, but it doesn't have a shadow-like solid outline. It's insubstantial, wispy and formless, like it's made out of a dark fog or mist, perhaps.
Okay, have you seen my notes?
Yes, book 2. Now, we probably, this will be a little bit of a teaser for Ascension Unleashed. The shadowy thing that killed that poor Ska farmer.
That's what we call it.
They say it's mist during the day. Vin doesn't, and the thing that Vin sees, she doesn't remark about it being dark and blackish, just that it's misty. But I think this is the connection that we're supposed to be making here.
Yes.
Yeah?
But what do we do at the time? Sorry, but I mean, just because of where we're at, obviously that's what I'm thinking about. But in the book where we were there, we were just like, oh, this is why. We just made a connection with the deepness. Like something like that. It was deepness equals mist. That really was what I was thinking at that time.
I agree. And there was like this thought of we associated the mists and the red sun as being caused by the deepness, or at least whatever it was that the Lord Ruler did.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did. That was what we were on about. And that, you see, I remember when we read mist, perhaps we were like, ooh, mist, you see, mist. And so that was the main revelation or main key plot that we stuck to at that point was, it's that is what we're taking from there. Is that the deepness the deepness is now all around them after this. Because the mists come all the time. There was no discussion of the mists before.
Correct. Or at least none so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens in this chapter? We get a Vin POV. She's thinking about Elend. She's kind of rude to Renault. Renault's kind of rude to her. And is this the one where we get the marsh Vin scene? It is. Nice little bonding there. We learn about Vin's mother. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to 21, correct?
Yep.
And this also gets us our first journal excerpt. So, the hero of ages shall be not a man, but a force. No nation may claim him, no woman shall keep him, and no king may slay him. He shall belong to none, not even himself. Again, there are the he's, which, puts points into it's Kelsier camp.
Mm-hmm. Especially also a
Go
force, yes. A man, not a man, but a force. He is hope. You don't kill hope.
Yep, he becomes a religious figure.
Mm-hmm.
No woman shall keep him. But one of the thoughts I think I had was, who's to say the prophecy has to be referring to one person the entire time? Like the prophecy could be saying, so there's going to be this guy, Kelsier. Here are his characteristics. He's going to do this thing. And then there's this girl. She's going to do this thing. And she's the hero of ages.
Mm-hmm.
There are workarounds if we really want to try and fit it to Vin.
Yeah, and prophecy does that though. Not even just like us wanting to fit it to Vin. That's just how prophecy is. It's not always straightforward.
Right. And then there is the journal excerpt. Sometimes I worry that I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. What proof do we have? The words of men long dead only now deemed divinatory? Even if we accept the prophecies, only tenuous interpretation links them to me. Is my defense of the Summer Hill really the burden by which the hero shall be dubbed? My several marriages could give me a bloodless bond to the world's kings, if you look at it the right way. There are dozens of similar phrases that could refer to events in my life, but then again, they could all just be coincidences. The philosophers assure me that this is the time that the signs have been met, but I still wonder if they have the wrong man. So many people depend on me. They say I will hold the future of the entire world on my arms. What would they think if they knew that their champion, the hero of ages, their savior, doubted himself? Perhaps they wouldn't be shocked at all. In a way, this is what worries me most. Maybe in their hearts they wonder, just like I do, when they see me. Do they see a liar? Rashek seems to think so. I know that I shouldn't let a simple packman perturb me. However, he is from Terris, where the prophecies originated. If anyone could spot a fraud, would it not be he? Nevertheless, I continue my trek, going where the scribbled auguries proclaim that I will meet my destiny. Walking, feeling Rashek's eyes on my back, jealous, mocking, hating. In the end, I worry that my arrogance shall destroy us all.
Okay, so part of what I wanted to do with this diagram is put the stuff in chronological order.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I need your help. So with the journal excerpt in hand, I'm going to go back and we need to place, say, one or two or whatever. Because in the end, I worry that my arrogance shall destroy us all. It comes at the end of that excerpt, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I'm actually, okay, wait, you know what I'd rather do is also just put actually in the journal excerpt, go write like chapter, I'll put the I'll denote
Okay.
where it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I believe I can help with this.
Mm-hmm.
1 moment.
So in the end, I worry my arrogance shall destroy us all. What's that?
Let me do a quick word search in the word document. In the end. Nope.
I could probably do it as well. Search the diagram.
Yeah, you go ahead and do that. It didn't pop up in the way I had expected.
This one here. It's chapter 1. What? In the end, I'm the one. No, that's not it. In the end, arrogance.
So
Sorry, arrogance.
The prologue.
Mm.
The prologue epigraph has the philosophers assure me that this is the time that the signs have been met.
That's chapter. Wait, this one here. Okay, so first of all, I've got arrogance. That was chapter 9. So, okay, so let's go from chapter 1. Okay.
I'm confused.
Okay,
go to
fine.
the second.
Yeah.
The second paragraph. The philosophers assure me that this is the time. You see that right there? That is the prologue epigraph.
Okay, so that is prologue. Yeah. Where does it end? The hero doubted himself in the liar part. That's yeah.
Yes.
Epigraph. I mean, prologue. Okay. What's next?
Perhaps they. That's still the prologue. Perhaps they wouldn't be shocked at all. Chapter 13 is the Rashek, jealous, mocking, hating. If anyone could spot a fraud, so that is chapter 13 epigraph. And then destroy us all is chapter 9.
And then the augury. So we've got that. Similar phrases that occur to events. We didn't have that. That's not in there. We don't have the Summerhill.
And then the prologue. Prologue is sometimes I worry that I'm not the hero everyone thinks I am. So that very first sentence is the prologue.
Okay, so yeah, I remember that when we went through this the first time, we saw that. I think you saw that this was there, and then there was a whole chunk that wasn't given to us, and then there's prologue. So,
yes,
yeah.
All right, and then so yeah, and here we get the defense of Summerhill, bloodless bonds. And I think I have a section at the end of this that is the prophecies, and we'll get to that discussion when we get there, where we try to fit it to both Kelsier and Vin. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in chapter 21, Kelsier is on his way to the Argui Caverns. We meet Captain Demieux, where I learned I can do a decent French accent. That was neat and fun. We get a little bit. This is the Dark Kelsier chapter. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that brings us to 22. At first, there were those who didn't think the deepness was a serious danger, at least not to them. However, it brought with it a blight that I have seen infect nearly every part of the land. Armies are useless before it. Great cities are laid low by its power. Crops fail, and the land dies. This is the thing I fight. This is the monster I must defeat. I fear that I have taken too long. Already so much destruction has occurred that I fear for mankind's survival. Is this truly the end of the world, as many of the philosophers predict?
So that's more stuff for us to note about the deepness, just for us going forward. Because if we go back to your predictions and things you want us to learn more about in the next book, one of mine was that we need to know stuff about the deepness. Yeah. The deepness is, yeah.
We've had the very first mention of mist in a previous epigraph, and the way in which he talks about it, he doesn't. Mist isn't the first thing he jumps to, and one would imagine in a misty world that it would be. So it subtly suggests, I think, that the mists would occur after whatever happens at the Well of Ascension. But you and I are currently theorizing in Well of Ascension that this mist during the day thing is a herald of the deepness. So there's sort of a disconnect here between some of our logic, I think, that we need to learn a bit more about. But nevertheless, there's a blight.
Yeah, I don't think the logic cancels out what we know. I don't think our logic needs to be rethought out yet. We need more information.
Agreed.
In terms of mist during the day, and it seems like mist during the day is a repeat of those shadows or whatever that we're seeing in the epigraphs. Yeah. We
also know that the deepness is serious enough to have affected the world, and crops are dying. Crops fail, land dies. We know that the Lord Ruler has very strict rules about food production and the plantation. And I think that's all cluing us into the fact that he didn't really stop the deepness. He's working hard to make sure that food still comes, and he lets noblemen kill themselves off in foolish wars every so often. So there's tight population control, which all speak to a failure at the Well of Ascension.
Yeah, but I do feel like this also does show some sort of success in that. Yes, okay, so we know that the basically crops fail and the land dies, right? But they're still living now. They still have something. Like the plants still grow. They still have plantations. So it's like some sort of victory that he had. It wasn't a good one. We still have mist. We have a red sun. We had a disaster. We did have that. The deepness has sort of won. But it's been held at bay somewhat.
Well, and you and I theorize very frequently, I think, that the atium is being used to help hold off the deepness.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, you and I have only read up to chapter 6, and we have not discussed. Yeah. So no spoilers or anything, but a big mystery thus far has been what happened to the Lord Ruler's atium. So there's still mystery there that you and I need to learn about, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, and I still want to know what the hell the Kolos are. We never hear anything. We haven't heard anything about what they are.
No. Let's see, and then we get another journal excerpt. We arrived in Terris earlier this week, and I have to say I find the countryside beautiful. The great mountains to the north, with their bald snow caps and forested mantles, stand like watchful gods over this land of green fertility. My own lands to the south are mostly flat. I think they might be I think they might look less dreary if there were a few mountains to vary the terrain. The people here are mostly herdsmen, though timber harvesters and farmers are not uncommon. It is a pastoral land, certainly. It seems odd that a place so remarkably agrarian could have produced the prophecies and theologies upon which the entire world now relies. We picked up a group of Terris packmen to guide us through the difficult mountain passages, yet these are no ordinary men. The stories are apparently true. Some Terrismen have a remarkable ability that is most intriguing. Somehow, they can store up their strength for use on the next day. Before they sleep at night, they spend an hour lying in their bedrolls, during which time they suddenly grow very frail in appearance, almost as if they had aged half a century. Yet when they wake the next morning, they become quite muscular. Apparently their powers have something to do with the metal bracelets and earrings that they always wear. The leader of the packmen is named Rashek, and he is rather taciturn. Nevertheless, Rashek, inquisitive as always, has promised to interrogate him in the hopes of discovering exactly how this wondrous strength storing is achieved. Tomorrow, we begin the final stage of our pilgrimage, the far mountains of Terris. There, hopefully, I will find peace, both for myself and for our poor lands. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
So Rashek is the leader of these packmen. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
We get our first real glimpse into feruchemy. I think
Yes.
we've wondered about Sazed before and his abilities. It's very noteworthy that Alendi compares the frailness to aging, because we know that they're doing a strength thing there, but the aging brings to mind immortality.
Yeah. Exactly, which is what Rashek at some point starts using.
Right. But it's a different mechanism. And then we do get that connection to allomancy. It's metal. He thinks it's from the metal bracelets and earrings that they wear. We know that the Lord Ruler wears jewelry.
Yes. So that was our first hint of TLR wears jewelry. It hints at him being feruchemist. Because I did say, was he Terris? I did ask that. I think that's what actually.
I think it didn't occur to us at this point that feruchemy might be genetic, whereas we know that allomancy is.
I thought it. Well, I think it did to us because we knew keepers were genetic.
True. I perhaps we thought whatever it was that happened at the Well of Ascension granted him both. I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah, but I do remember. I do remember going. Yes, I remember even writing that note to you. Is the Lord Ruler a feruchemist? I remember writing that in Discord, I think. But I don't know.
Yes.
The point. Yeah.
We wondered. We asked the question.
Yes. Okay. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. We didn't predict. We just wondered. Yeah. And I think what happens in this chapter is Vin starts speaking to Sazed about it. Yeah.
Yeah, Vin's reading the books. Sazed's a little hesitant to tell her what it's about, but Vin kind of needles a few bits of information, enough to be able to trick Kelsier later on.
Into getting more, yeah.
And Sazed pulls hard for Chad Spook. And we get a very nice Vin Doxson scene where we learn that Doxson carrying on, but he doesn't like noblemen.
Oh yeah. And Vin's trying to really hold the water for the nobleman.
Yeah, she's really grappling with her crush-based growth this chapter. And then that brings us to 23, yes? I sleep but a few hours each night. We must press forward, traveling as much as we can each day. But when I finally lie down, I find sleep elusive. The same thoughts that trouble me during the day are only compounded by the stillness of night. And above it all, I hear the thumping sounds from above, the pulsings from the mountains, drawing me closer with each beat. That feels like what we have learned from the Marshvin scene is detecting allomancy.
And I mean, that's the first. Technically, he could be the first Allomancer. He had something, some ability that then the deepness expanded on, or something.
True.
Sorry, I've gone all the way down this way. Come on. Okay, so we got the pulsing again, the way that Vin can feel through copper clouds, all of that comes to mind. Agreed. Detecting allomancy, even though we didn't have allomancy at this point.
The birth of allomancy.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not getting sleep. Sleep is elusive. He thinks he's going mad. He's seeing mist creatures that only he can see. All of this could be signs that he's not the hero of ages. It could be corruption. It means he could be in the wrong state of mind when the time comes to make the proper choice. So it's still
it's
we've called out the clues that it's really Rashek,
but we still
have doubt. We still believe strongly that it is going to be Alendi who becomes the Lord Ruler. This far into the epigraphs. Although we don't know him as Alendi yet. But Sanderson is doing a really, really wonderful job of threading that needle.
God, yeah, it's really great. The golden mystery thread.
Yep. We get Kliss. We get Milan. We get another ball. Shan, being very mean to Vin. And after her very long recovery, we get some Mistborning again, where she listens in on Elend and Teldin and Justice. And Kelsier's back from his trip. Yay!
Yay! Scares the shit out of Vin.
Indeed she does. And then that brings us to 24, yeah?
Yep.
In the end, I must trust in myself. I have seen men who have beaten from themselves the ability to recognize truth and goodness, and I do not think I am one of them. I can still see the tears in a young child's eyes and feel pain at his suffering. If I ever lose this, then I will know that I've passed beyond hope of redemption.
Right. Yeah?
I was pulling hard for a Lord Ruler redemption arc throughout this book. This epigraph.
That's Daisy.
No. Hi, Daisy. I was pulling hard for a Lord Ruler redemption arc, and we certainly get a Lord Ruler who has beaten that from him, because he kills kids.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, I remember that my main focus here was, bruh, you are too far gone.
But Vin is really noticing this guy does not seem like the Lord Ruler. So I think this puts a lot of points in the epigraph man is not the Lord Ruler camp. But by this point, there's just so much else to go by. But I can see how Vin would read this and think, he seems so different. And then in this chapter, Kelsier goes back and they're all hanging out, having fun. Vin feels like she's in the group. Kelsier wants to replace Yedden with Breeze because he's working on his plans to have the Ska see the whole crew as leaders. Ham and Vin are about to do some training. Yay!
Yay!
But then, oh no, the army's exposed. End on a cliffhanger. Freaking Yedden. And then that brings us to chapter 25.
Chapter 25.
No man dies by my hand or command, except that I wish there had been another way. Still, I kill them. Sometimes I wish that I weren't such a cursed realist. That's the ruthlessness.
Yeah, that's the yeah, that was more of us going, okay, this guy could be the Lord Ruler.
Yep. And it's especially contrasted with that last epigraph, which brings us back. It's the pendulum keeps swinging back and forth.
Yeah.
It brings us back to, okay, he's losing himself, clearly. The hubris, he is on a mission to save the world. He will do what he has to do. Does that include killing children?
Yeah.
It might.
And then the cutthroat thing comes to mind that he thinks he's justified. So he can, as long as he's justified, there it is. This is the cutthroat guy.
And at this point, we're also, I think, really wondering how long ago, like, at what point in the timeline was this written? Was this written a year later, 3 years later, a day later? That's unclear to us. And I think it's still unclear to us to a point. We know it all happens before, by the end of the book, we know it all happens before the Well of Ascension, though. So there you go with that.
Yeah, it happens before he goes to the Well of Ascension. We know that. But at this point, we were like, oh, he could be justifying his actions at any time in the timeline.
And then we get Kelsier and Vin running out to the army to see what happens. And Kelsier wants to run in and save the army, but Vin stops him. So they go to the caverns. They take what soldiers stayed loyal to Kelsier and begin migrating them back to Luthadel. We have Kelsier's all is lost moment. And Menace comes in and he's like, hey, you did some good. It was a pointless fight, but you did some good. And Kelsier's like, nah, man.
That's not enough.
I'll show you what's what. And that's the end of part 3.
We did have the reveal of Yedden's absolute stupidity. Like we understood
freaking
exactly.
Yedden.
Yeah, like we had hope. We thought, oh no, maybe like there were some people in the army that just overtook it. No, it was his idea. It was all his idea.
Yup. Stupid Yedden. Part 4, Dancers in a Sea of Mist. I am growing so very tired. Simple, short, to the point. It's all weighing on him, and you don't need more than that. That was a good, ominous epigraph.
Yeah. And the first one, Dances of a Sea of Mist. I mean, how do we understand Dances in a Sea of Mist? It's just you're just in it. That's what I'm thinking with Dances in a Sea of Mist in terms of the name of the part. You're just in it.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yep. It's a misty world, and they're all playing their parts.
Mm-hmm.
Vin experiences pewter dragging,
Which is being tired, so it works.
Yep. Ham, Doxson, Breeze, and the rest don't know what to do. They're thinking about giving up, but Kelsier comes in, and it turns out that there's going to be some mass executions. Kelsier's like, okay, you guys want to give up? Come with me. I want to show you something. So they go and watch, and we get Vin feeling the Lord Ruler more profoundly, it seems, than others do, which is important. Vin's a special girl. But Kelsier basically says, this was never about a heist. This is about overthrowing the Lord Ruler. There's no higher caller. There's no higher calling. I won't make you stay, but you should stay, I think, because you know it's the right thing to do. Very powerful scene. And that brings us to 27, yes?
Yes.
I think I've finally discovered why Rashek resents me so much. He does not believe that an outsider such as I, a foreigner, could possibly be the hero of ages. He believes that I have somehow tricked the philosophers, that I wear the piercings of the hero unjustly. According to Rashek, only a Terrisman of pure blood should have been chosen as the hero. Oddly, I find myself more determined because of his hatred. I must prove to him that I can perform this task.
This is where I was like, oh, that is where I should have gone. Oh, Rashek is the Lord Ruler, because like obviously you don't. It would just be a theory at that point. But remember, we were like, oh, the Lord Ruler is a ferrochemist. So I was like, oh, he's Terris. And then we get this, and my takeaway from this at this point was, oh, so maybe Epigraph guy is half Terris. And that's why he's an element, he's a ferrochemist going forward or something like that. But no, there's no, he's just, and he is a complete foreigner. It's not that he's, because the way that I took it, I remember, is that because it said a Terrisman of pure blood, I thought that he would be a Terrisman with impure blood. But there's no mention of that. It seems unlikely.
Agreed. But Vin has a piercing.
Yes.
Points in the Vin is the hero of ages
piercing
thing
of the hero.
That said, we know that the Lord Ruler wears jewelry. And why wouldn't he have piercings then? So that's in the Epigraph man is definitely the Lord Ruler camp, even though that's not it. Again, it's muddying that water and deepening that mystery. Also, Vin is an outsider. She thinks of herself as an outsider. Maybe by blood, maybe not by blood, but who's to say it has to be blood? It could just be metaphorically an outsider. Then again, Kelsier, there's that Vin line, you're no ska, you're nobleman without titles. So Kelsier is an outsider.
He does not believe that an outsider such as I, a foreigner, could possibly be the hero of ages. But there is no guarantee that that line that he's talking about is part of the prophecy.
I think I finally discovered why Rashek resents me so much. He does not believe that an outsider could possibly be the hero of ages, tricked the philosophers, wear the piercings of the hero unjustly. Where did I get it in my mind that the hero must be an outsider then?
It's just that he does not believe that an outsider just you can read that. You could read that as he doesn't. The prophecy said that an outsider a foreigner would possibly be the hero of ages. You could read it that way, but so that's part of the prophecy, but he doesn't believe that part of the prophecy. I just took it as he does not believe an outsider. Like it's not that he doesn't even it's not that he doesn't believe the prophecies, he just believes they're wrong with applying it to him.
Gotcha.
So it's not necessarily part of the prophecy.
All right then. Good, noted, corrected.
Well, it's a question. It doesn't. It's not corrected. It is.
If nothing else, it still parallels with Vin
exactly.
as Elende.
Yeah.
Or Kelsier as Elende? Yeah, doesn't matter. Although Elend becomes the king, I hope Elend isn't the hero of ages.
People who know must have such a great time hearing these things.
Yeah. So Kelsier and the crew head back to Clubs' shop, and they're deflated, but they start problem solving, and Vin and Kelsier have a scene. They talk about the 11th metal. Is this subdued? Yeah, is this the gold chapter? Yes, this is the gold chapter, which is great. And then we see Marsh for the last time.
Normal Marsh.
Normal Marsh. All right, then. That brings us to 28, yes? Sometimes my companions claim that I worry and question too much. However, while I may wonder about my stature as the hero, there is one thing that I have never questioned: the ultimate good of our quest. The deepness must be destroyed. I have seen it, and I have felt it. This name we give it is too weak a word, I think. Yes, it is deep and unfathomable, but it is also terrible. Many do not realize that it is sapient, but I have sensed its mind such that it is, the few times I have confronted it directly. It is a thing of destruction, madness, and corruption. It would destroy this world, not out of spite or out of animosity, but simply because that is what it does. Ooh, epic, scary.
Yes.
Cthulhu.
Reminder of that this is still out there. And that's why we have more books.
Yep. Thematic with the pushing and pulling. You know, I question myself, but there is one thing I have never questioned. It's fantastic and determined.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, the goodness of the quest that goes with the peaceful voices closer to the end there. And also the fact that he just goes into describing how horrible the deepness is, then you can understand that gives a bit more points to him being corrupted by it. Because it's so
I have
horrible.
to stop this thing at any cost, at all costs.
But it is so dark. It's a thing of madness, corruption. It corrupts. So that it makes it for me. It brings a point of LND could be just the corrupted version.
Also, he has dealt with this thing before. I have seen it and I have felt it. The few times I have confronted it. So, is it like the end of the Fantastic Four sequel with the giant cloud monster that just roams the world, wreaking havoc? I thought it was more of a global warming, the sun turns red, ash starts to fall from the sky kind of a thing. but if he has felt it, it could be Galactus Cloud, as disappointing as that interpretation was in the Fantastic Four sequel movie. It could be a giant cloud of ash.
It is a giant. Is it a okay?
Maybe.
But why are they going? Where are they going? And he knows where it is, so it's like the source of it. Yeah, I don't know that there is the source of it.
Yeah.
In the mountains.
We do not know enough yet.
We don't, but this is good to keep in mind as we go forward. That it is both in one place and in many places. It's like little offshoots, which makes sense because of those mist things.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And then in this chapter, we get a ball, we get more cliffs, we get a very nice Elend Vin scene where they're just enjoying the time while they have it. Vin thinks there's something going on with Lady Shan. Lady Shan is mean and venomous. And then we get an Elend POV. We meet Jastas and Teldon. Well, we met them before, but in more detail here. Elend is worried about Valette. He goes home and we meet Straff. We met Straff before, but within the dynamic of this relationship, they don't like each other. And the house war is getting serious. And Jastes shows up and he's like, hey, Elend, Valette's not being honest with you. All in all, a good chapter. Yeah. And then that brings us to 29. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. The others all think I should have had Quan executed for betraying me. To tell the truth, I'd probably kill him this moment if I knew where he'd gone. At the time, however, I just couldn't do it. The man had become like a father to me. To this day, I don't know why he suddenly decided that I wasn't the hero. Why did he turn against me, denouncing me to the entire conclave of Worldbringers? Would he rather that the deepness win? Surely, even if I'm not the right one, as Quan now claims, my presence at the Well of Ascension couldn't possibly be worse than what will happen if the deepness continues to destroy the land. So this must happen before he hires Rashek and heads into the Highlands of Terris. Yeah?
I don't know. Why? Why must it?
Because there was some sort of denouncing at the conclave of Worldbringers, and
to the entire conclave.
Yeah, to the conclave. How would Alendi have gotten this information if he was already, in the Highlands where travel is difficult and he's nearing his quest? So I think there's a time gap between this and hiring Rashek. That's my supposition. Okay. He couldn't bring himself to kill Quan, and he thinks I probably would now if I knew where he was. But I think it's telling that he couldn't bring himself to do it at the time. That's
okay, and we did.
Go on.
Yeah, we did point out that Rashek, he didn't mention Rashek as a reason that Quan betrayed him. So Rashek, he didn't even consider that, and he doesn't even speculate that. So that is another point for it being this betrayal being before Rashek came along.
Right, and
because he doesn't relate the two actually.
Right, and this seems to be before all the I'm so very tired. I see mist creatures. So there's a lot to be considered. And there's a conclave of Worldbringers. That's pretty cool. So I guess when global warming gets bad enough, there is a group of people saying, hey, maybe we should do something about it.
We got to look out for that in...
You misspelled conclave.
Conclase. There you go.
Conclaki. And then there is that admirable or laudable, one would think, my presence at the Well of Ascension couldn't possibly be worse than what will happen if the deepness continues to destroy the land. Now, not getting too into the details, but Quan eventually seems to have an opposing thought to that. Quan seems to be concerned at some point that if Alendi makes it there and returns, we're in for worse times. But we're going to save that for Ascension Unleashed. Just worth bringing up.
For us, we are in that state of mind that, him being there would be better than nothing. But we do know that it turns out bad in any case because the world is now ruined.
Yes. The sun is red. And then we get a doozy of a journal excerpt. It's almost over. We can see the cavern from our camp. It will take a few more hours of hiking to reach it, but I know that it is the right place. I can feel it somehow, feel it up there, pulsing in my mind. It's so cold. I swear that the very rocks are made of ice, and the snow is deep enough in places that we have to dig our way through. The wind blows all the time. I fear for Fedek. He hasn't been quite the same since the creature made of mist attacked him, and I worry that he will wander off cliffs. Cliffside or slip through one of the many icy rifts in the ground. The terracemen, however, are a wonder. It is fortunate that we brought them, for no ordinary packmen would have survived the trip. The terracemen don't seem to mind the cold. Something about their strange metabolisms gives them a supernatural ability to resist the elements. Perhaps they have saved up heat from their bodies for later use? They won't talk about their powers, and I am sure that Rashek is to blame. The other packmen look to him for leadership, though I don't think he has complete control over them. Before he was stabbed, Fedek feared that the terracemen would abandon us up here in the ice. I don't think that will happen, however. I am here by providence of Terris prophecies. These men will not disobey their own religion simply because one of their number has taken a dislike to me. I did finally confront Rashek. He did not want to speak to me, of course, but I forced him. Unleashed, he spoke at great length regarding his hatred of Klenium and my people. He thinks that we have turned his people into little more than slaves. He thinks that terracemen deserve far more. He keeps saying that his people should be dominant because of their supernatural powers. I fear his words, for I see some truth in them. Yesterday, one of the packmen lifted a boulder of enormous size, then tossed it out of our way with an almost casual throw. I have not seen such a feat of strength in all my days. These terracemen could be very dangerous, I think. Perhaps we have treated them unfairly. However, men like Rashek must be contained. He irrationally believes that all people outside of Terris have oppressed him. He is such a young man to be so angry. It is so cold. When this is finished, I think I should like to live where it is warm all year. Rashek has told of such places, islands to the south where great mountains create fire. What will it be like when this is all over? I will be just an ordinary man again, an unimportant man. It sounds nice, even more desirable than a warm sun and a windless sky. I am so tired of being the hero of ages, tired of entering cities to find either armed hostility or fanatic adoration. I am so tired of being loved and hated for what a bunch of old men say I will eventually do. I want to be forgotten. Obscurity. Yes, that would be nice. If men read these words, let them know that power is a heavy burden. Seek not to be bound by its chains. The Terris prophecies say that I will have the power to save the world. They hint, however, that I will have the power to destroy it as well. I will have the ability to fulfill any wish of my heart. He will take upon himself authority that no mortal man should hold. Yet the philosophers warn me that if I am self-serving with the power, my selfishness will taint it. Is this a burden that any man should bear? Is this a temptation any man could resist? I feel strong now, but what will happen when I touch the power? I will save the world, certainly, but will I try to take it as well? Such are my fears as I scribble with an ice-crusted pen on the eve before the world is reborn. Rashek watches, hating me. The cavern lies above, pulsing. My fingers quiver, not from the cold. Tomorrow it will end.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we've got we've got the Fedic thing comes around. We don't know what happened to him. We have the stuff that then becomes our realization that the Lord Ruler is Rashek because of the dominant word. That's what this is the stuff that, yeah.
Yeah, that's the big major clue. He thinks that Terrismen deserve far more. He keeps saying that his people should be dominant because of their supernatural powers.
Because he says dominant or something like that.
Yep. There's mention of Fedic.
Yeah. Then soon.
Continue.
Fedic and mention of Fedic. I can hear you.
He hasn't been the same since the creature of mist attacked him. That's big. I know we were theorizing at the time. Was he possessed? Does he play a role in whatever happens at the well?
It's still possible. We don't know what happened at the well. We just know that Alendi failed.
It's also really worth noting they won't talk about their powers to Alendi. And while we're over here wondering, is the Lord Ruler a feruchemist? It seems like his knowledge ultimately is limited. He's seen it, but he doesn't know the details. So maybe that's a subtle point against Alendi being the Lord Ruler.
Yeah. Alendi doesn't know anything about feruchemy. Pointing to him not being TLR. And yeah, it is quite funny and ironic that we had him. I want to be forgotten obscurity. He is forgotten, actually. He's not remembered. Him who he is now is actually hidden.
Yes.
People think that this was only known to people like
who had his confidences and could figure out the journal.
Yeah.
Because I doubt the Inquisitors know. I suspect, I mean, maybe that's why the Lord Ruler kept the journal, so that he could pretend to be Alendi long enough after memory of the guy goes.
Yeah. We still need to know the details. God damn it. That's another thing. It's like, yeah, cool. We got a bit of a reveal, but we actually don't know for sure.
However, men like Rashek must be contained. He irrationally believes that all people outside of Terris have oppressed him. He is such a young man to be so angry, which just brings up the question. Like, I think after the epilogue, we understand why he controls the breeding of the Terrismen so specifically, but why is he okay with noblemen if they are the people that oppressed him? And we did talk a lot about how it's a gilded cage, but it's still a cage. But there's just, then again, I suppose it would be weird if he just decided to start killing everyone except the Terrismen. That would probably be more trouble than he finds it to be worth. Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
but
rambling now.
there is still special care brought towards the terrorismen. It's weird.
True.
I think it's also to try and make sure nobody uses Ferrokemi the way he is. I don't know. It's weird that the keepers never challenged him in this way, because they would, I don't know, the earlier ones would have known. That he had to have kept that a secret and killed out all the keepers. And made people not know what could be the source of his immortality. He just wants it to be, oh no, it's because I fought the deepness, that's why.
Right. And then these terracemen could be very dangerous, more so than you know, but that also fills a really wonderful double meaning there. If we presume that he is the Lord Ruler, it's like, okay, well, that's why he oppresses them, because he thinks they're dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
But Sazed says remarkable and confusing passion. So, it's so many ways to interpret this based on the different tiers of information you have at the time. Really strong writing.
Yeah. Noting thinks terrorismen need to be contained is a point.
Well, men like Rashek, at least.
LND equals TLR.
And then in this chapter, it turns out Vin likes reading when it's interesting. Sazed is optimistic. We get some fun stuff. We get Kelsier and Doxson and Clubs all talking and doing stuff. And it turns out that Theron's crew has been hit by an Inquisitor, which is very scary. Kelsier has a great scene with Sazed, where they talk about the Vala. And that's just insight and blatantly saying, yeah, he's doing some religious shenanigans here.
Yeah. He's trying to figure out.
Yeah, and then if you could pontificate on that for just a moment, I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, actually, what I'm doing here is putting the last part together in a boundary, which is part 5, Believers in a Forgotten World. So I'm just doing that for a sec. Believers in a Forgotten, which we'll see how that relates. But we are here. Most terrorismen are not good bad. No, we're not there. Where did he say we were?
Somewhere. I'm back. Hello.
Okay,
this brings us to chapter 30.
Yes. I just used the time to go and make a boundary.
Excellent.
Up here. There.
Nice. Okay, 30. Most of the terracemen are not as bad as Rashek. However, I can see that they believe him to an extent. These are simple men, not philosophers or scholars, and they don't understand that their own prophecies say the hero of ages will be an outsider. Aha! It does say that.
Okay, there it is.
You should connect that to the
the
epigraph
previous.
if you remember
epigraph.
which one it was.
Well done.
Anyway, most of the terracemen are not as bad as Rashek. However, I can see that they believe him to an extent. These are simple men, not philosophers or scholars, and they don't understand that their own prophecies say the hero of ages will be an outsider. They only see what Rashek points out, that they are an ostensibly superior people and should be dominant rather than subservient. Before such passion and hatred, even good men can be deceived. So he's hammering that dominant.
Yeah, we need that. Yeah.
And then, would that I had the foresight to realize Terris dominance, Eastern dominance. It's right there.
Oh my God.
It's right there.
Wow. Oh my god.
What
Hello.
a-
Hello. The territories are called dominances. And we noticed that now? Or you did. I didn't even notice it. So I'm not going to
No,
say
I didn't notice it at this point. I didn't notice it until after the reveal at the end of the book. But it's like an eagle-eyed viewer, a keen and intelligent reader could potentially figure it out there from that.
Yeah.
It's
It
great.
all
I
makes
love it.
sense. It's beautiful.
I don't feel dumb for not having
No.
realized it. It's just like
It's nice to see
pure
that it's there.
excitement. Yeah.
It's like, look, I can see it. I see it now. I see it all.
But most of them aren't as bad. But yeah, populism, it can be a dangerous thing if not kept in some degree of check.
But we wanted the populism to serve Kelsier.
Yeah. There are times where it's important and necessary and good. It's just you don't want it to run amok. And Rashek's populism, it does seem to be motivated by a great deal of racism and not goodisms. Yeah, hatred, rather than a unique love for one's culture, etc. So we get another venture ball. Is this the last venture ball? Yeah. Everything is everything's tense. Freaking Kliss and her gaudy dress. Vin reveals her Mistborn nature, or at least Allomantic nature. Straff tries to kill Elend. We get a mini boss fight, or a boss fight with Shan, which is excellent. That reveal. Well done. Well done. But she survives. She breaks a key Allomantic rule in this chapter. She pierces a copper cloud. Good for her. And then that brings us to chapter 31. Yes? Other men worry whether or not they will be remembered. I have no such fears. Even disregarding the Terris prophecies, I have brought such chaos, conflict, and hope to this world that there is little chance that I will be forgotten. I worry about what they will say of me. Historians can make what they wish of the past. In 1,000 years' time, will I be remembered as the man who protected mankind from a powerful evil? Or will I be remembered as a tyrant who arrogantly tried to make himself a legend?
Oh, well, there you see, it just brings us back to the whole, oh, well, Alendi is TLR.
Yep. And we had commented earlier on, he's worried about how he'll be remembered. He wants anonymity. But he knows that he is a divisive figure. So it's Sanderson opening up the possibility that he could be a tyrant, pushing the pull.
Yeah. And Kelsier parallel as well. Because we were, I think that started coming off where we were just like,
Dark Kelsier.
Dark Kelsier do you see if he could, if this epigraph guy could be turned, then Kelsier could be as well.
And we were very worried about him. And I think at this point we were still expecting, or at least I was still expecting, Vin to redeem him in some way of the darkness, which she does. She does. He saves Elend, so yeah, I'd say she did fill that role for him.
Just not as neatly as we would have wanted it, where he just goes and lives happily ever after.
And then we've got Kelsier and the crew joking around for a little bit. Sazed's about to head back to get Vin, and door slams open, lightning bolt in the background. Vin comes in injured. We get some excellent Breeze is worried about her in this. Spook being awkward because she's
half naked.
And Vin has an emotional outburst, angry because Elend is a good man.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vin and Kelsey are on the roof, and that conversation that made me very paranoid, but I guess nothing came of it. Vin opens up to Kelsey about about her mom and about Reen, and they realize there's something special. She pierced a copper cloud. And it's really nice bonding.
Before things.
Yes, and then we get an Elend POV where he realizes, yes, she, where Elend realizes that Vin is a ska, and that is comforting to him because he was worried that it was personal, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then we get a scene with Elend and his father, and well, who knows what's going to happen there? And that brings us to 32, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Though many Terrismen express a resentment of Clenium, there is also envy. I've heard the Packmen speak in wonder of the Clenny cathedrals, with their amazing stained glass windows and broad halls. They also seem very fond of our fashion. Back in the cities, I saw that many young Terrismen had traded in their furs and skins for well-tailored gentlemen's suits. Furs and skins! The 11th medal shows a man in furs! Clue.
Furs and... Yes. Clue.
Oh,
Hello.
we yes, hello. Also, we didn't mention it earlier, but in that in the logbook, he says something like, I'll have the ability to fulfill any wish of my heart. Which is interesting. I want to know what Vin's wish would be. I want to know what Elendi's wish. Presumably, Elendi would say, I wish for the world to be saved. And I suppose Rashek's wish was, I wish to be dominant. But that was an important thing that we forgot to mention. But anyway, back to 32. We were wondering about the genetic makeup of the nobleman, because it seems so strange that Rashek would adopt Clenny cultural benchmarkers. Is that the word? Given how much he seems to hate them.
Yes.
It's strange, and there's more there to know about. And it's, I suppose, points in the Rashek couldn't be the Lord Ruler camp as we're trying to figure it out. Because why would he?
Yeah, that is part of it, yeah.
Because I was so annoyed that we talked ourselves, or I talked myself out of thinking it, because we did theorize it at one point.
And I was like, it doesn't make sense. Why would he? And that also goes along with him being a Terrisman.
Yeah.
And then going after and killing the Terrisman.
Yeah. Very strange. I want more info there. And we assume that because Elendi is from Clenium, he would maintain that culture as the Lord Ruler. So, nuanced.
Yeah. Well, also TLR does embrace the cleanly ways. So, point against Rashek being TLR.
Great. And then here we get, in chapter 32, we get Chad Spook as he mentors Vin.
Yes. He sees everything.
Yep. We get Jesus Kelsier as he touches the children, the babies. And then Marsh dies.
Yeah, the marsh. That was, oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get a message from Marsh posthumously,
Mm-hmm.
and a map where they learn about the location of the soothing stations and how they're gonna. That allows them to deal with them when the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Kelsier being so mad that he goes and destroys the pits of Hathsin.
Which we will surely reap the rewards of that in the coming books. Because there is no Atium.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And in 33, we are close now. Oddly, this high in the mountains, we seem to finally be free from the oppressive touch of the deepness. It has been quite a while since I knew what that was like. The lake that Fedek discovered is below us now. I can see it from the ledge. It looks even more eerie from up here, with its glassy, almost metallic sheen. I almost wish I had let him take a sample of its waters. Perhaps his interest was what angered the mist creature that follows us. Perhaps that was why it decided to attack him, stabbing him with its invisible knife. Strangely, the attack comforted me. At least I know that another has seen it. That means I'm not mad. That came right after the Pits of Hathsin destruction scene. I think connected this lake with
Yes.
Atium in my mind. We wondered if it was perhaps this metallic water that is used to drip and create the Atium geodes. But there's definitely mystery there, and some kind of connection, one would imagine, to Allomancy.
Yeah. Connection to Anonymity. And you know what? He has had the sense of the deepness the whole way through, right? But the deepness is separate to the strange mist creature because he's only seeing that now. That's new. You know, like
yes.
So he's actually like, oh, strangely, the attack comforted me. So there's two separate things. There is the mist creature is a new feature of deepness or not deepness at all.
Right.
Yeah, because it's new. He hasn't seen it. That's why I decided to attack him, the mist creature. It's not something he's used to because he's like, oh, we seem finally to be free from the oppressive touch of the deepness. Like that's the deepness to him, not this weird creature.
Right.
So much of we don't really have answers. We just have our questions.
We still don't.
We just have clearer questions. Yeah.
So in the chapter, the group is mourning Marsh and wondering what to do. And Kelsier comes back and he's like, hey, I destroyed the Pits of Hathsin. And the group is like, madness. But also, what are we going to do now? And Kelsier's like, yeah, we'll talk tomorrow. And then tomorrow, we get a caravan of ska / pretending to be noblemen coming through the streets. We presume that the Lord Ruler knows, but by the end of the book, I don't think he knows, which is noteworthy. And Kelsier goes in and he's gonna save Spook and Renault, and we basically get the start of and Vin is like, no, we should cut our losses, let them die, we need to live. And Kelsier's like, nah, we don't leave people behind like that. I hope you realize what friendship is one day.
Yeah, you need to learn about friendship. And she had that nice
and
Mm.
Yeah. And then we get the start of a boss fight with an Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent scene.
Yes.
And then that brings us to 34.
Oh no. Yeah.
Oh, 34. You know what? Let's just stop here. Let's no, we'll continue. We must.
We're almost there, yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, I never wanted to be feared. If I regret one thing, it is the fear I have caused. Fear is the tool of tyrants. Unfortunately, when the fate of the world is in question, you use whatever tools are available. So this suggests that he is willing to make people fear him.
Mm.
And that's points in the he does become the Lord Ruler camp.
Yeah, Alendi is willing to fear him for the right reasons. More points for LND equals TLR. Okay.
Yep. And anything else to say about that thing? Seems straightforward enough, yeah?
Yeah. Well,
Right
just
then.
a reminder in terms of, unfortunately, when the fate of the world is in question, use whatever tools are available. We're going to be introduced to Calcia's deception of the people and turning himself into a martyr.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, and that is, yes, he's using, it's not fear, it's belief, it's hope. He's turning that
Faith.
into, faith. He's turning faith into, that is the tool that he's using.
Excellent. Excellent. And that's so counter to fear. That's the opposite of fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or something close to opposite.
Yeah.
And then we get that boss fight. Kelsier beats the Inquisitor and saves Elend in the process. But we are introduced to the Lord Ruler, and Kelsier gets bitch slapped.
Yeah, we lose Calcia. My God.
And that is the end of part 4. Rest in peace, Kelsier.
Yes.
And that brings us to part 5, Believers in a Forgotten World.
Yeah, so it makes sense that Believers in a Forgotten World happens now because they have to continue believing after Calcia is gone. We just had this whole discussion about faith. So there we go. Believers in a Forgotten World. And also it's about remembering the Forgotten World. They're remembering, Vin goes and remembers the Forgotten World, remembers who the Lord Ruler actually is, all of that.
Yeah.
So it's very neatly.
And we had commented on that pattern of we took a hit, we might as well give up now. Then Kelsier comes in and he's like, no, we can't give up. And they carry on, and that repeats.
Without Kelsier, yeah.
And finally, here we are without Kelsier to be able to say, no, you have to keep on carrying on. And this is them being believers.
Yeah. It was his plan all along, and they jump into action immediately. And they even go a step further. They're a step ahead because Vin takes them to that warehouse. As opposed to him or Ashur having to come and find them.
Yes. And so, chapter 35, I know what will happen if I make the wrong choice. I must be strong. I must not take the power for myself, for I have seen what will happen if I do.
We don't really have much more from this. We actually don't know what he means by that.
Correct. And it's something we still want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. We still don't know what he means by this.
It could be as simple as I've seen the destruction that the deepness has wrought. Or it could be something that he has felt from the deepness, that sapience or that sentience, and what it could mean. But he feels so determined to make the right choice. The further we get, he just seems so determined.
Equals Alindi is not TLR. Oh, the way he plays with us back and forth and back and forth.
Oh man. And we have Vin hanging out in the mist, in the air, just hanging and feeling the mist, and she's mourning Kelsier, of course. They all are, and Sazed comes in and he's like, hey, faith is important even when you struggle, because is it really faith if you give it up when times get hard? Yeah. And then we get some religious folks calling Kelsier the Lord of the Mist. And everyone starts to realize what Kelsier really had planned this entire time. Vin has an insight, a Vin sight, where he's like, where she's like, hey, we should go to the docks and see what's up. And they bump into Renault, who has taken over Kelsier's body, and he's like, hey, yeah, so this was part of the contract I had with Kelsier. I'm going to go out and pretend to be a misty Kelsier, the Lord of the Mists, to inspire the entire city to rise up in rebellion. And the group reads his last messages. He tells Vin, hey, I thought of you as a daughter, basically. Asterisk, basically. I made my, Mary Magdalene connection. I was so proud of that one.
Because we had Jesus Kelsier so recently,
Yep. And then Vin lies to us and says that, this group needs a good assassin, and she epically walks off.
And we're like, wow, yeah, she's got a plan. No.
Yep. No.
No.
I feel lied to. How could you, Vin? And that brings us to 36. She tried. It was epic. 36. I have decided that I am thankful for Rashek's hatred. It does me well to remember that there are those who abhor me. My place is not to seek popularity or love. My place is to ensure mankind's survival. And then that's the very much the what I'm doing is right, and it's hubris. I need people to hate me so that I can know that I'm doing the right thing. It doesn't necessarily work out, but it's more of the Alendi is the Lord Ruler thinking.
Yeah, we got that.
Ruthless, without Ruth.
Has no Ruth.
And then in this chapter, she walks towards Kredek Shah. Vin does. She convinces a couple of guards to go join the rebellion.
We see one of them again later.
Yep, the Lord Ruler. Let's see. She makes it into the room, and the Lord Ruler speaks with the Inquisitor, Carr, I believe it is, and Carr's working on his own little insurrection of the Ministry. And we get to see what the 11th metal does, and if you are a uniquely intelligent individual, you can realize from the furs, from the shoes, from the beard, this is Rashek. I mean, it's not, but only if you are uniquely attuned to the clues that have led to this point. This is another clue. And then Elend speaks with his dad. Straff is running away. And Ellen stays to join the rebellion. He sends some guys off to help out Keep Lacall, and then he goes and turns himself in, or goes to turn himself in. Vin is forced to swallow a metal that depletes her resources.
We know what that is now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's brought before the Lord Ruler, and Carr basically says, hey, we have this girl who's exceptionally powerful, and also she's the daughter of Prelin Tavidian. So the Lord Ruler's like, oh man, fine. And he lets the Inquisitors kill Tavidian and agrees to give power over to the Inquisitors. This may have been my favorite chapter in the book, just because I love villains so much. They're fun. And then that brings us to 37, yes?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything more beautiful than the sun? I often watch it rise, for my restless sleep usually awakens me before dawn. Each time I see its calm yellow light peeking above the horizon, I grow a little more determined, a little more hopeful. In a way, it is the right thing that has kept me going all this time. The contrast.
All the way back.
Yep. The contrast between the red sun, the yellow sun, and the torches in the mist that mimic a yellow sun. It's all so beautifully done.
Yellow glow. Yeah, and then we will, in the next chapter, get the sun, that shot, the cinematic shot of the bracelets. But let me not go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that these last few epigraphs are all looking forward to the next book. Let's see. So then in this chapter, we get a Dachshund Ellen scene where it seems like Dachshund's the guy in charge. And Ellen, and then Ellen's like, hey, I want to support you. I'm here to help you. But you can't just kill wantonly for meaningful change. And then we get Sazed being captured and brought to the prison, and Carr's like, hey, Vin, we're going to torture this terraceman if you don't tell us what we want to know. Anyway, think about that. I'm going to go receive control of the ministry. And then Sazed shows his ferochemical powers. He becomes weak, then he becomes strong. He breaks them out. Jacked Sazed. And they're fighting to get out, but it's looking like a losing battle. And then Ellen comes in and rescues them, but then it continues to look like a losing battle. And then Vin gets her hand on some metals and she kicks butt and saves the day. And Ellen and Vin basically get married, except.
Yes,
and we'll cover that.
They're basically married now. I love that.
Oh man.
We're such children. We're just like, oh well, they kissed, so they're married now.
That's how it works. But then Vin lies to us again and is like, I figured it out.
Oh, yeah, double bluff. Jeez, thanks, Vin. You're like, okay, this time she's got it. Don't worry, this time we.
And then that brings us to 38. Such are my fears as I scribble with an ice-crusted pen on the evening before the world is reborn. Rashek watches, hating me. The cavern lies above, pulsing. My fingers quiver, not from the cold. Tomorrow it will end. Rashek!
Yeah, it's just like, okay, just a final reminder that Rashek is a thing.
Yup.
Yeah.
Question: do you think Alendi is still alive or survived this Rashek event sometime or somehow?
No, I don't think so.
No. So you think he
Yeah.
was definitely killed by Rashek?
He was either okay, so he was definitely ended. Okay, so
Okay.
so with either the Lord Ruler or no, sorry, Rashek and him became the Lord Ruler. Okay, both of them together, and that's the end of Alendi on his own. Or Rashek did just kill Alendi.
Interesting. Hi, Vincent.
Hi, Vincent.
This it is we're so close to the end. We've finished the book, the first book, and we're about to start the second.
But we're going
Essentially.
at the same rate, so don't get too excited. We're taking it easy.
Slow burn.
Yeah.
Unlike Atium, which apparently burns very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
Ooh. Anyway, final reminder of Rashek. Very ominous. He's not wrong. It will end. And then in chapter 38, we get that epic. She goes in, she attacks the shadow. Doesn't work. Marsh is alive.
Yeah.
She does that weird swivel where she like basically attacks the air. She never once tries talking to the shadow.
Yeah.
Shame on her for that. But then Marsh shows up. He kills all of the other Inquisitors that are at least in Credit Shaw. And then the Lord Ruler starts beating them up. He yells out the words, "I made you dominant." And it finally clicks for Vin. Oh. And then she realizes that he is Rashek. She realizes that he uses...
She calls him Rashek, yeah.
Yes, and he freaks out. You know nothing of that. Nothing. And then... Thank you. And then she realizes that she is the same as him somehow. She pulls as hard as she can, and she manages to pull the ferrochemical stores that he has piercing his skin, and he deflates. He ages quickly.
Yeah.
Sazed runs in, and he helps Vin, he helps Marsh, and not Sazed, the Lord Ruler offers a perilous warning. You have no idea what I've been doing. I was your god. You've doomed yourselves. And Vin epically kills him. And that's that. That brings us to the epilogue. The epilogue. Oddly, on occasion, I sense a peacefulness within. You would think that after all I have seen, after all I have suffered, my soul would be a twisted jumble of stress, confusion, and melancholy. Often it's just that. But then, there is the peace. I feel it sometimes, as I do now, staring out over the frozen cliffs and glass mountains in the still of morning, watching a sunrise so majestic that I know none shall ever be its match. If there are prophecies, if there is a hero of ages, then my mind whispers that there must be something directing my path. Something is watching. Something cares. These peaceful whispers tell me a truth I wish very much to believe. If I fail, another shall come to finish my work. This is not a man who becomes the Lord Ruler.
Nope.
And the whispers.
The whispers.
And that's, it seems clear, like in terms of prophecy, what has happened and what will happen had to have happened and had to will happen. In order.
This all had to have happened. It's all according to the prophecies.
Yep.
Anyway.
And yeah. And then it ends with Sazed, Vin, and Marsh all pondering the mysteries of the universe, settling in what happened. They discuss Farrakhamalomancers, and Vin
decides to love.
Yeah, she thinks she's going to go off and be a Mistborn alone in the world, but the whispers tell her, nah, you earned this. Go be with Ellen. And she does. The end. Oh, that's great.
What a journey. Yeah. Wow.
So let's talk about the Terris prophecies, shall we? And what we know about it?
Yes.
He shall defend their ways, yet shall violate them. He will be their savior, yet they shall call him heretic. His name shall be discord, yet they shall love him for it. The hero of ages shall be not a man, but a force. No nation may claim him, no woman shall keep him, and no king may slay him. He shall belong to none, not even himself. Burden by which the hero shall be dubbed. Bloodless bond to the world's kings. There are dozens of similar phrases. He will take upon himself authority that no mortal should hold. I will have the ability to fulfill any wish of my heart. Their own prophecies say the hero of ages will be an outsider. There's so much here that could clearly lead to Vin, and Vin does seem to be of a character to have a good wish. She is such a pure soul. She doesn't want to be abandoned. She wants family. She wants goodness. She's fiercely protective. She doesn't seem like a person that would have a dark wish. But I'm so hung up on unless
Ellen is in danger or something. I don't know.
Well, like the closest we get to Dark Vin is when Kelsier dies, right? And that's depression. And we talk about it a little bit in Ascension Unleashed. Stay tuned, folks. Vin seems to be going on a depression arc, but depression doesn't necessarily mean evil or self-serving or anything like that. And I'm still getting hung up on the male pronoun of it. He shall defend their ways. No woman shall keep him. No king may slay him. And Kelsier does seem, I mean, Vin essentially redeems him, I think. So I don't know. We do know that there is a dark Kelsier, but I don't know that he's someone that would make the wrong choice, make a selfish wish. I hate sometimes how much I can't say while watching these. Remember, folks, don't spoil these two. I'm sorry.
Please don't. I you know, enjoy knowing. Enjoy sitting with the and just being like, I wish I could say it. It's
enjoy the journey, though. And we do appreciate everyone's cooperation in regards to not spoiling. I've been joking this particular stream about Elend being
the Lord Ruler. I mean,
the king, being the hero of ages. But also, bloodless bond to the world's kings could be Vin, because Vin and Elend don't share that blood bond, but she's we know that there's drama regarding a marriage, and we know that Straff is calling himself a king, so that makes kings plural. So that's all points in the Vin thing.
Just look at what I've said here about burden by which hero shall be dubbed, right? Remember we were in the book, in this
Heir
book,
of the Survivor.
I gave you first. I said no, Kelsier. Even though Kelsier's gone, because we were always we are of this. I think we are of this opinion that it's kind of as if Kelsier is part of the prophecies as well as Vin. Kelsier isn't the hero of ages, but he's also the hero of ages. Like, you don't have the Vin without Kelsier, so you don't have the hero of ages without Kelsier. So when the burden by which the hero shall be dubbed, initially it was like the survivor of Haths, and Kelsier being the survivor is a burden because he goes forth and he's living while Merritt died. So that was his burden. He survived Haths. So that was the burden part. But now we know that she is the heir of the survivor, and that is a burden to her. So that fits.
So maybe it's something like it's whoever has this title. Kelsier was the hero of ages, and then he filled his purpose, and then Vin becomes the hero of ages, the heir of the survivor, and has a role to play. They all have very specific roles to play.
I think we can say there are dozens of similar phrases. That whole thing is like there are further prophecies, but what we could say here is like all these phrases can be twisted to fit Kelsier and Vin together or apart. The nature of prophecy.
Yep.
We only get it with hindsight.
Yeah.
Also, he will take upon himself authority that no mortal should hold. That doesn't necessarily have to be the hero of ages. Like, I don't know with the exact phrase of where that comes in. It's just phrases that Alendi gives you. That could be a prophecy that is exactly telling you what the Lord Ruler does.
Right. He takes Ferricamalamancy upon himself. Like there's all of these things. The prophecies could be referring first to Rashek, then to Kelsier, then to Vin. We're working with very limited amounts of, segments of the prophecy.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, it's not and we don't know if these phrases are all. This is like the structure of the prophecy. He is this, blah 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 blah. He is this, blah 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 blah. You don't know what the structure that this thing is taken, the verse or whatever. Oh god, prophecy is so full of crap.
Yeah. What else is there? Is there anything else?
Yeah, I've got Vin would have a pure wish. I don't know about the full wish, any of my heart. I don't know what else you wanted to say there.
I think Kelsier would make a pure wish. I even kind of think Elend might as well.
Yeah.
I don't actually think Elend's because he is the king. So bloodless bond to the world's kings would not apply to Elend.
But yeah, the ability to fulfill any wish of my heart could be twisted by Rashek anyway. It could have been twisted there, but I think he would have had to have actually been successful to fulfill a wish of his heart. So,
right.
Yeah. So the mystery continues. The stream has not given us any answers. It's just given us questions. Look how pretty that is, boys.
It looks wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for indulging this fancy over here of us diagramming this. I really appreciate that.
I love it. Please post it in the No One Asked You Discord somewhere.
I shall export it. And indeed, I shall stop screen. There we go. Let me export it and get it ready. Yeah.
Excellent. And then
tune in next week.
Tune in next week. No, we have a couple of topics that we need to discuss before we head off. Kitteh and I are planning on doing a live blind read of the 11th Metal. So we're going to schedule that soon. So keep an eye out for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to give a quick shout out to, Libralita's channel. She's one of our viewers who,
Mm-hmm.
let me see if I can bring it up quickly. Present, share screen. Forget it. I'll share. Can you share it, Kitty?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna posting the link. Awkward.
Hello.
Scuff.
Oh, that's not what I wanted.
So anyway, Libralita is one of our viewers, and I have to be careful about what I watch on her channel for fear of spoilers, but she made a really cool video with a recommendation to us for a reading order. So in part, thanks to her reading order suggestion, we are also going to be doing a live blind read of The Emperor's Soul. So that's on the docket after the 11th medal. Keep an eye out for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, play a little bit. I hope she won't mind. I'm sure she won't.
She's got a lot.
She's got some really good
there.
editing
I'm
too.
Libralita, and today we're talking about the Cosmere reading order. Yes, I know. Very original, very new, very fresh discussion for the Cosmere fandom. However, this video has another purpose besides giving my opinion on how someone should approach the series. The No One Asked You podcast is a YouTube channel hosted by Dorkus and ThatDarnKitteh, where they have been going through the Mistborn trilogy week by week. To be frank, it's one of my favorite podcasts, in part because of how entertaining they are to listen to.
I wanted someone that you kind of immediately read as a shyster. This will be an albatross around my neck. Also, become pitiful at the drop of a dime.
We don't understand
someone with a tremendous amount of intelligence behind their eyes. I went with someone sort of a middle-aged, maybe a little bit older, to suggest that he's been useful and successful to whatever degree an informant can be. And I could not think of anyone better suited to that than George Costanza himself.
But also their impressive analysis skills. So
lies and slander.
To encourage them to...
So yeah, we are gonna be doing that. We did obviously. I think we did get the other. We started Ascension before this video, I think.
Correct, but Ascension was always going to follow Mistborn. But the point of this being, it helped us settle on doing the Emperor's Soul after the 11th medal, and presumably in congruence with Ascension Unleashed. Let's see. Was there anything else for us to mention before we head off?
Where do I put the link in the Discord?
Mistborn no spoilers section.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems like a good place to do it.
I don't know why it's called that.
GRAP framework basics.
That's stupid. Why is it doing that?
No clue.
I don't know why it's calling it that. Because it's called Epigraphs, Final Empire.
Strange.
Yeah.
As always, I have so many plans for this channel. I just have to actually commit to doing them and getting them done. I really, really want to make Romance of the Three Kingdoms content. I want to make more Roman primary sources content. Go and subscribe to ThatDarnKitteh and Libralita, but ThatDarnKitteh, where she does diagram streams like we saw here today, and panel shows, and sometimes video game streams where she swears a lot. It's very endearing.
I hope so. I behaved myself here on the No One Asked You podcast. It's very good.
Good. Appreciated. Thank you all for tuning in.
Appreciation. Sorry.
Statement of appreciation.
Mhm.
Seriously, thank you all. This has been a journey, a great sense of accomplishment, and I am significantly grateful for everyone who's joined me along the way.
Along the way.
Along the way.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.